Listeners be advised, this episode is rated R for colorful language.
All right, welcome to Season 2 of the Sporting Chance Podcast, your home for all things falconry and unconventional hunting techniques.
This podcast is brought to you by MountainStateFalconrySupply.com. Check out Heather McNeamer's store for your East Coast falconry goods.
And also, this podcast is brought to you by MidnightFalconry.com, the makers of the tightest braided equipment on the market.
Check out supporter of the show, Sean O'Neill's Kennel, Clover Creek Canine on Facebook. Your source for performance canines since 1983.
And let us not forget our boy, Seth Roy, at NorthMountainGoshawks.com. And if you'd like to support the podcast, visit SportingChancePod.com for all of your merch needs.
Welcome to the Sporting Chant Podcast, Joe Franklin. Why don't you introduce yourself?
So I'm Joe Franklin. I'm a falconer from the UK. I was speaking to Casey on Instagram about coming on. I was saying, "Are you sure you want me on?" Because I am a Harris Hawker, and I know the last podcast you guys uploaded was Ben. So it's a very different type of person, but yeah, Casey said I'd have some interesting stuff to talk about, so it'd be worth it.
Yeah, so for the audience, like how did because over here it's like there's kind of a step, there's steps you have to take to become a falconer here. It's like regulated. You got to get a sponsor. You got to take a test. You got to have the government come to your house and look at your setup. So how does one in Europe get involved in falconry?
Well, in England, to be honest, can I swear on here? I'm British, so we swear a lot.
Yeah, feel free, help yourself.
Yeah, it's bullshit in the UK. Really, I don't want to share bad light on falconer in the UK because there's some absolutely amazing falconers in the UK. But in the UK, if you see someone flying a Harris Hawk on demonstration and you've got £200 in your back pocket, you could go and buy a Harris Hawk that day, no questions asked, and then you've got a Harris Hawk. It is ridiculous. And like I say, I don't want to share bad light on falconry in the UK. There's some amazing falconers to come out of the UK, but I'm sure you guys see all over the Falconry Hub on Facebook, there's always a missing Harris Hawk in England that's got leash, swivel, jesses, no telemetry, and its beak needed coping 3 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Have any Harris Hawks bred in the wild in the UK?
I've never seen it. There's always, there's myths that people have seen it. I'm sure people might have. I never have. I've never seen a Harris Hawk breeding in the wild in the UK. Apparently, they've been breeding with our common buzzards. I've also never seen a wild hazard, as they call them, in the UK. So I can't say for sure, but apparently people have seen them being bred in the UK, and it's annoying if that's the case because they're not only English bird, are they?
Right. Our common buzzards is very
hazard is what he called it.
Yeah,
a hazard. That's cool.
Yeah, hazard. That's what. There's a chap in Scotland, a guy called Stuart. He flies on demo, and it's a pretty cool bird, but a bird that shouldn't be flying around in the wild because it's not a bird that should ever really are bred in the wild, is it?
Right. Yeah. Are common buzzards, do you guys use those for falconry purposes, or is it?
No, they are really lazy birds. They're a tiny bit smaller than a Harris Hawk, but they've got tiny, tiny feet. They're amazing at catching voles and shrews and things like that. But when it comes to hunting, there's some footage of them in the wild taking rabbits and things like that, but they would rather sit in a tree and watch you hit a pigeon in the car on the way to work than go and actually do some work.
Right.
So no, people do use them. People have been successful with them. But if you want the tool for a job, you would get a Harris Hawk or a Goshawk if you were going out to catch game.
So the difference, have you dealt with a lot of red-tailed hawks?
I've worked with them in centres. I've got a few friends that have hunted them and flown them. I personally haven't, just because I've never had the opportunity to. I'd love to fly one, but if I have a bird, I sort of want that bird forever. So that's why I picked a Harris Hawk from the start, because where I live in the UK, for me and my lifestyle, they're best suited for me to go out and catch game instead of a red tail. They're very different. They're very different birds in themselves, aren't they?
Right. Yeah, they are. I would just be curious to know, like, the difference between like a common buzzard and a red tail, like how much different they are from each other.
Loads. A common buzzard is a pussycat compared to a red tail. They don't really. I don't want to talk shit on a common buzzard because I absolutely love them. They're amazing at what they do. They're really successful in the wild because they don't do much. They sit there on a telegraph pole waiting for someone to run over a pheasant. In the UK, we release absolutely loads and loads of pheasants. So all the time, common buzzards just finding a dead pheasant at the side of the road, filling their crop and sitting in the tree above. A few days later, they go back down. But compared to red tails are a lot bigger. They're a lot meaner. They mean business. Whereas a buzzard, they are sort of a pussycat compared. But at the same time, a very successful bird in this country, so you can't put them down because they are absolutely everywhere.
Right, yeah. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
Joe,
yeah.
Did you know in America they call vultures buzzards?
Yeah. It's really confusing. I used to work at Warwick Castle near where I live, and there was loads of tourists there, and they'd always get confused when I talk about a buzzard and they talk about a buzzard because they are two completely different birds. So
they don't realize red-tailed hawks are actually a buzzard, if we want to be specific.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Ben Woodruff made a great video talking about that.
Yeah, they a few people over here. The person that mentored me, she called them a buzzard, a red-tailed buzzard. Same with the argument with the Chilean blue. Is it a buzzard or is it an eagle? There's loads of different people that say different things, but they are what they are, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned you had a mentor. So
yes.
how did that work?
Yeah, so like I said, in the UK, you could just go out and get a bird and not do anything about it. When I wanted to get into falconry, when I was a youngster, that's exactly what I would have wanted to do when I was 8 years old and I found out about falconry. But my dad was like, no, you're doing it properly. We found a centre, and I volunteered at a centre, and just cleaning bird shit, prepping chicks and mice, and doing all the stuff that no one wants to do. But that fed my fascination with birds of prey, and then I was, eventually went on to do it on my own. But there are different schemes in the UK, different courses where you can go and learn about birds of prey, but it's nothing on the scale of America. In America, it is done fantastic. I'm under the impression that even if you go through and do the course and the apprenticeship and take the exam, even if is it the game warden?
Yeah.
Even if they don't think you're ready for a bird, they can stop you having one. Is that the case?
So basically, if you go through all the steps, get a sponsor, your sponsor on paper is really the one that kind of has the final say for the most part.
Okay. So if your sponsor doesn't think you're ready for a bird, they can say, no, you're not ready for one, and stop you having one.
They really can't. We have like a little bit of a thing going on in the States where if a sponsor sponsors somebody and then that apprentice turns out to be just somebody who wants a pet hawk or an owl or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like once they have the paperwork, like the sponsor can try, but like at the end of the day, they could just go from one sponsor to another sponsor and find somebody stupid enough to sponsor them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do they say if you need to trap up hawk in America, do they need to apply? Because I know for JR Falcons and some goshawks, you need to apply. If they're not a very good falconer, can they just turn them down or?
Well, they can't. So in America, you're limited to it varies from state to state. So in some states, you can have 4 different types of bird as your first bird, and then in other states, like my state, I think when I got into it, we could have an American kestrel or a red tail, and those are the only 2 birds an apprentice can have, and that's it. Other states, you can get captive bred birds and Harris hawks, depending on where you are. But yeah, the emphasis for the first birds is usually in most states is on trapping your first bird and training it. Traditional.
Which I think is awesome, because normally, from what I've seen online, you trap it, train it, and then release it after you've had your season with it. And that, for me, that's absolutely awesome. How it normally works in the UK is not everybody, but people will have a bird, train it, fly it, and then it will just sit in the aviary or sit in the mews, sometimes for the rest of its life. It is a shame, and it is something that really bugs me. Like I say, I don't want to paint a bad light on it in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, that goes on here, where somebody will get a bird and they'll fly it and then realize it's not really for them. It's a lot of work to catch game with a bird, and then they just put it in a chamber and just keep renewing their license every 2 years. And now they're just the guy who has a pet hawk, and that's it.
Yeah,
I don't really find them.
I don't know
enjoyable pets though.
Yeah, I don't know if you see on my Instagram, there's that J.R. Plumado falcon that I've been messing around with recently. Yeah, she's a bird that it's sort of like a rescue operation last year. We went in, it was someone else that was like sort of running the operation, and him and me and my other mate went and took 28 birds off this one guy from his they were living inside his house. So that J.R. falcon, she was living along with 3 other birds in his kitchen. She was living on the shittiest perch you'll ever imagine. I had to throw it away. Absolutely stunk on his cooker. And she was, I think, about 12 weeks old. Her tail feathers were smashed to pieces. Her primaries smashed to pieces, imprinted. So, as you can imagine, not very well. Very talkative, very food aggressive, because she didn't have a lot of food growing up, and she would fight with her brother who passed away before we got to rescue them. That's just one case of from last year, from her and 27 other birds that we rescued, and no one even knew that was going on. And he was a big guy in the falconry scene. He's now got an animal ban, and hopefully his life's ruined when it comes to falconry. But yeah, it's one of the common cases that happens. And like I say, it's sad to know that still happens in the US, but I doubt quite as much in the US. From the things that I see online, it really does look like it's done properly.
Yeah, well, so like I've seen some stuff, over in your neck of the woods, where there's like an eagle owl in like a slightly large bird cage, basically, and it's just sitting there. So like that stuff here, like you can have all the licenses you want, you can't, like you'll get fined, you'll get a summons to go to court. Like you can't keep birds, like you can't keep a bird like that. It has to have the proper housing. I don't know if it's the same over. Is it the same over there in Britain, where you have to have a certain like square footage or square meters of space?
The only thing I've not really looked into it too much. My area is that all my weather ends are massive, but they need to be able to stretch their wings out both ways without touching the sides. That's what people sort of go off. Obviously, they'd be a lot bigger, but you are right. You see, I think, I don't want to piss anyone off here, but owl people, and I have an owl myself, are very different to falconers, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
People get an owl, and there was a lady at a fair recently, and she got slandered on Facebook. She had a barn owl tied to her shoulder. She had the whole like punk rock skinhead going on, and she just thought this owl was like a trophy to let people stroke, and this owl just hated life. But they're the sort of in the owl groups on Facebook, they're the sort of people that go absolutely mad at it when you tell people you can't keep a barn owl in a parrot cage in their living room. Our owl, she was my first bird. I was 13. I took her because she was the first bird I could get from my mentor. She bred it, and even though you can't hunt with owls, I was obsessed with hunting. I still am. So I got a little beeper box, put a beeper in a box. I hid it in a grass field, tall grass. And I'd put a chick or a mouse on it, and then she would go and hunt the beeper box.
That's cool.
Do what she would naturally do, and she'd hover above it, smash down, and catch it like a wild owl would do.
That's cool. That's a great idea, actually.
There's a chap on YouTube that did it. It's like when you lose your keys, there's a little beep you put on your keys, and you got a remote, you press, and it makes a noise. I seen him do it on YouTube so while ago, and it worked absolutely amazing, and it shows just how adaptable these barn owls are. But it's a shame, once Harry Potter came out, everyone got a barn owl. And it's such a shame to see them in the situations that they are, because they're such amazing creatures. Absolutely outstanding.
Agreed, man. Yeah, they're cool. And I mean, I don't know if anybody's done it, or I'm sure they have in Britain, but there's people over here that do hunt with owls and catch a couple things. It's not the most practical bird, but it can be done. It just takes a lot of effort. Aaron's done it. Aaron's caught a couple things with a great horned owl.
Yeah, we have. Are you guys familiar with great horned owls?
Yes, yes. They're they're the ones that you need to watch for if you goshawks on hack, aren't they? If you goshawks on hack on a moonlit night, then you need to watch out for them.
Yeah,
absolutely. If they find a roosted goshawk, that goshawk's dead.
Yeah, I forgot who it was, talking on a podcast, one of your guys' podcasts the other day. I was listening to it, and he said that happened to his goshawk, which wasn't nice to hear. But like you say, great horned owls. If it might not be practical, but if that's what you want to do, and you can get the best out of them, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, if whatever that's the cool thing about falconry. Whatever your cup of tea is, you can do it.
Exactly. As long as you give it 100%, doesn't matter what you fly. Like I say, I know a lot of people. There's always a chat about you're not a real falconer if you fly a Harris Hawk, blah blah blah. But if you're getting 110% out of the Harris Hawk, I know you're a goshawk.
I am, but I mean, if you got a Harris Hawk and you're catching game with it, I mean, I would never say that you're not a real falconer. I would just say you're doing it. You're taking the easy route. That's all I would say.
Yeah. I agree. When I get back from a long day at work and I've done a 10, 11, 12 hour day, and you just grab your Harris Hawk and you might get lucky and go and have a quick kill, and the Harris Hawk's happy and fed up after a long day at work. You're happy. I'd rather have that than a pissed off goshawk that's not been able to get out, and then when you do get out, it's not performing. Like I say, it's when the time comes. But like in the UK, like I say, I can't just let my bird go back off into the wild and try something different like you can in America. If you've flown a redtail for 3 years and you want to try a goshawk, you can let the redtail go. But in the UK, you can't do that. So I've still got my first barn owl, my first Harris Hawk. She actually damaged her wings, so I've got my second Harris Hawk that I use for hunting. And I've had him 3 or 4 years. No, I've had him 5 years, and I hope to have him for the rest of his life, because every year he gets better and better. He's absolutely amazing.
That's great, man. So, I don't know, Aaron, do you have anything? I have a little list.
Since he brought up hunting, I wanted to ask what type of quarry they're pursuing there.
So the main thing for me, pheasants and rabbits. But a lot of people now in the UK are catching brown hares, other things as well, crow hawking and partridge, but the main thing that I'm after is pheasants, partridge. Sometimes if my hawk's in the correct position, and rabbits, they are my perfect day going out bolting rabbits with ferrets and catching them with a Harris Hawk. I absolutely love it. But yeah, a lot of people now are flying eagles in the UK and being really successful catching brown hares, because they are absolutely all over. Fox, and a lot of people now as well with their golden eagles are switching on to deer, and loads of people this year have been successful catching roe deer, muntjac, the Chinese water deer. So there's loads to go at. Foxes as well. A lot of people are catching foxes with their golden eagles, which is pretty cool. But for me, perfect day, I'll go and get a rabbit or two in the bag.
So I think I understand this correctly, but so we're in is it safe to say England? Let's clear that up. If we're referring to where you live, what's the proper way to say it?
England.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to say the UK, Britain. I don't know how wrong are those.
Oh yeah, I live in England, but a lot, you can say UK because I'll go to Scotland to hunting. Scotland and Wales we go quite a lot. So some of my best days out have been in Scotland, where there's 20 of us flying Harrisawks all over the moorland, bolting them with rabbits. It's amazing, absolutely. It's when it's moving with rabbits and they're bolting left, right, and centre, and the Harrisawks are working, in twos and threes. Even when the rabbits get away, absolutely love it. It's it really gets your heart pumping.
So in England, you've got rabbits and hares, two separate.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the rabbits are the ones that dig the warrens, and hares behave like jackrabbits do in the western United States.
I believe so. So the hares will make like a seat in the ground, and they sit. It's amazing how camouflage they are. The amount of times you walk over them, and they make the seat, and a lot of the time as well, there's no scent coming from it either. A lot of the times, obviously, there is. My dog will hold point on the scent, but there's sometimes as well my dog's pointed and flushed 3 hare that day, and then walked over 1 2 minutes later. And it's absolutely amazing how camouflaged the hares are. But the rabbits, yeah, they can be a nuisance to farmers. They can, especially in Scotland, they're everywhere, and they're building warrens absolutely everywhere. And that's what the farmers love us coming on to take out some if we can.
I see some of those videos, man, of like all those holes and the ferret going and this rabbit shooting out on this pristine flat grass.
Yeah.
Man.
You really can engineer the perfect slip. You do get some people that stand right on top of the warren, and then they'll catch the rabbit just right in front of them. I'd rather stand way back because the ferret and the hawk work together. The hawk knows the ferret isn't there to be caught. If you've manned your bird properly, with the dog and the ferrets, they won't care. My friend's bird, actually, if the ferret was coming up the hole too much, it would fly. She was a female Harrisawk, and she'd punch the ferret on the head and scare it to go back down the hole. And then it'd stay down the hole working. Yeah. And it's the hawk going, go and do your job. Because if you don't do your job, I can't do mine. And then I'm going home with a crop full of cold chicks instead of warm rabbit. So,
exactly. Same stuff. The same stuff goes on over there that it goes on here. Because our birds will tag our dogs if, Abby, not Abby, Ginger obviously passed away, but
sorry to hear about.
Yeah, thank you. But if she held still for too long, in one place, I would see the bird start looking at her, and there's no reason for the bird to look at her other than like get back to work. You know what I mean? Or like go after her and tag her or something. Like you just wanted her to go do what you got to do.
Yeah. It's amazing how smart they are. Because I bet if you were working a pointing breed and she went obviously on point, she'd be still just as Ginger was. But the bird would know this is good. But when Ginger's still, that's bad. And it's amazing. It's amazing how they learn that sort of stuff. It really, you got to give credit. Like I said, this is why I'm so passionate about birds, because they're so amazing.
Oh yeah. Now, I want to know, because so a lot of people over here run dachshunds as well as other breeds. But if there's like an accident, right, which happens from time to time, where a bird is either too low or it's not wedded to the dog, doesn't really understand what's going on yet, and kind of grabs the dog, and then you kind of pull them off, and they learn the dog is not okay. I don't go after the dog. They learn that. But I would imagine with a ferret, if you have a female Harrishawk, like you said, accidentally mess that up, like that ferret's dead. No,
it's what, the bird or the ferret?
Oh, okay.
So what did you say? The bird's dead or the ferret's dead?
Well, I would imagine the ferret would be dead if a female Harrishawk, got confused.
It has happened. Not with me, but I know it has happened where some people will see someone else flying their bird with ferrets, so they'll go, "Oh, I'll buy a ferret, I'll buy a bird, go out hunting." The bird is a second, third, fourth hand bird who's never flown with ferrets, and this is a someone that doesn't really know what they're doing, and it might happen. The bird might catch the ferret, and then he's going home with a dead ferret and a cropped up parasol, and he probably stinks as well because the ferret's probably sprayed him, and he's absolutely stinking. But it has happened. But as you know, anything can happen in the field. I might go out next season, and first day out, my bird something might have changed in its head. It might go after my ferret. But you do things. Obviously, if the ferret comes up, I'll pick it up straight away just in case, because you can never. We are working with wild animals at the end of the day, and you never know what could happen. Like I say, accidents happen, but the birds do know. We work different types of ferrets, so a lot of people work polecats. They look like obviously a polecat. They're called polecat because they're still ferrets, but they've got the mask on their eyes and they're black. But I work the albino ferrets just so the bird definitely knows it's a ferret. Because if you're working a polecat ferret and it bolts out the warren really quick, the bird might get mistaken. If there's been a rabbit that's been hole jumping, it might get mistaken to go down and catch it. But at least with a white albino ferret, it knows that's not ready for dinner. But accidents happen. Luckily, I've not had that accident before. I have had some birds that have wanted to go with ferrets, but you just put the time in. You just put the time in, and if it does want to go for your ferret, then go back to basics.
How do you start with ferrets?
How do you start working?
We know nothing about ferrets here. It's illegal for the most part to use ferrets in America.
Yeah.
So how do you start with ferrets? Pretend like me and Casey wanted to get into ferrets.
So in the UK, you need a $5, a $10 to pick up a ferret. They're really, really cheap. I believe in the US they're $100, $200. In the UK, like I say, I've always had ferrets. I don't think there's been a time in my life I haven't had ferrets. You just go out. They're pretty easy to care for. You just get a big hutch. We've got a massive three-tier like rabbit hutch that they live in. You just fill it with sawdust and straw where they sleep, and I feed them pheasants, mainly what I find at the side of the road the majority of the time. You replied to my story the other day, Casey. That's when you asked me to come on because I picked up a pheasant at the side of the road and chucked it on my girlfriend in the side of the van.
That's great.
That's what they that fed them for the next 2 days. But they also eat dog food, cat food. That for me, they are my dustbin in the morning when I prep all the bird food, all the crap and the innards and all that sort of stuff goes into a bucket, goes into the ferrets with the rest of their food, and they absolutely smash it all. When we go out, when I go out shooting feral pigeons and things for pest control, they'll get frozen, fed to the ferrets. But if you wanted to get into it, what you'd need to do is you'd get some ferrets, preferably from someone that's got a good working line. It's sort of about who who's got a good working line of ferrets. You'd get I don't know what do you guys use collars on your Dachshunds, don't you?
Yeah, for the most part.
Are they? They're not the Devon collars, are they?
That's the best brand, but they don't make those anymore, unfortunately.
No, they don't. But yeah, they are like gold dust. But I've got, if I see one for sale, I'll grab it. I've got three Devon boxes, and I think 6 or 7 collars. They're what we use on the ferrets. Obviously, people use them on terriers and things like that as well. But you just some collars and some ferrets, and they're ready to go. You don't need to train them. The instincts kick in. That's the amazing thing with ferrets. They are domesticated. If you spend some time handling them and you don't let them start biting you and getting aggressive and things like that, they are amazing pets. I think for if anyone out there is thinking of getting their 6-7-year-old kid a rabbit, don't get them a ferret because it will teach them how to respect animals. A rabbit you can pod and probe and all that sort of stuff. It's you can treat it like shit. It's not going to do anything to you. If you do the same with a ferret, it's going to bite you and latch on and not let go. Just the other day, one of my dad's friends came round and he was giving it the big one that he used to have ferrets and he wanted to hold one of ours, and he did. He held it and it latched onto his chin and wouldn't let go. And she'd never do that to me, but he knew he was a cocky fucker. So that's what she did. But you just spend time handling them. There's only been one ferret I've had that I really, really struggled getting tame. I bought her from a gamekeeper that bred her and didn't touch her for about a year, and she was like a wild polecat. She would hiss at you. She would go crazy. And I tried everything, absolutely everything. And then I was young. My dad said he was going to give her back to the gamekeeper because she wasn't safe to handle. But I was desperate not to, because the gamekeeper probably would have knocked her on the head or something like that. So I found a really, really, really old ferret book. I forgot who I got it off. And it said inside, spit in your hand and let the ferret drink the spit out of your hand. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to try this. And he was like, that's not going to work. And I did. I managed to get the ferret out, without it biting me. Spat in my hand, let it drink out my hand, put it back. I did that every day or so. She was called Millie. I had her till she was about 10 years old. She was absolutely outstanding after that. She was a polecat colour ferret, and it worked a treat. People think I'm crazy when I say that to them. I've still got the old book on my bookshelf. It says spit in your hand, let them lick it out your hand. It worked a treat. I don't know if it's they're getting a scent from you or something like that. It's not a fact of I'm feeding her, because it's not ferret food, but it worked. And that was probably the weirdest thing I've had to do with the ferret. But
wow,
it meant it worked. And she was a really, really good ferret. Obviously, she had the aggression. We knew that from day one. So when she would work the warrens, she really would work the warrens. I didn't breed off her, though, even though she was a cracking ferret, just because I like working the albinos. But yeah, she Millie, that was her name. She was some ferret, she was.
That's fascinating. I mean, I would. So spitting in your hand. So is it like? Yeah, I guess it would be some sort of a scent thing, because I would imagine water. You could try just using water for them to drink. I don't know.
I don't know. It was in a book that said to feed them bread and milk. That's what people used to feed ferrets back in the day. Because, for example, when my granddad was my age, he needed ferrets to survive. He'd had absolutely nothing. He was an orphan. He didn't have anyone providing for him, so he needed ferrets to go out and get his dinner. And they used to feed them bread and milk, because you're not going to waste good meat on a ferret. And obviously, you don't feed ferrets bread and milk because it's not got any nutrients in it for them. But that's how old this book was, because it said that's what the diet they needed. But yeah, it was just. But even when she was drinking it, she'd still be hissing at me, trying to bite me and wiggle out of my hands. But it took a week, 2 weeks, and it was like something overnight switched. She was like, here's a spit guy. I'm going to go and have something to eat. And yeah, she, like I say, she was absolutely amazing. I could then put her in with the other ferrets, and something I've never had to do that since. Hopefully, I don't have a ferret that bad again. But if you put your time into anything, I suppose it'll work. Like that. What's his name? Joseph, the mink man.
Carter, yeah, Joseph Carter.
Yeah, I don't think that'd work too well with them minks. I think you'd need a bit more patience with them. But yeah.
So then you would just, as long as the ferret is handleable and you can work with it, you just go out with your buddies and just put it into a hole where there's rabbits, and it'll just go in there.
So I usually won't go out when in their first year, when the ferrets are young in their first year. Some people will, some people won't. I personally don't, because I've got enough ferrets I don't need to. I'll wait till they're about a year old before I take them out. And just because rabbits, they're no problem for a harrisaur. But if a ferret grabs onto a rabbit, it could kill your ferret if they are kicking it, and if they get backed up into a warren and they need to fight their way out. People do have ferrets that have been killed by rabbits. So I normally wait till they're about a year old. You go down, show them the warren, and sometimes straight down they know exactly what they're doing. I feed my ferrets rabbits anyway, so they just think it's dinner time. Sometimes it takes a bit more persuading. The ferret won't really go down, but if you go out with another ferret that's experienced, it's for me anyway. My experience has always been pretty easy to get them to work. It's what they they're naturally bred to do, and if you keep working the good ones, then it's a piece of cake for them. It really is.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, go ahead.
No, I'm. So, all right.
I just want
to
know if there's I want to know if there's recall. I want to know birds. I want to know all that.
That's along the lines of what I want to know as well.
It really is. like.
And then, but once you say that, though, I do want to know how you acclimate the bird to the ferret.
So when I say if I have a new bird, I'd just sit. My dad's a falconer as well. I'd sit with him, manning the bird, and then he'd have the ferret on his lap. I'd be feeding the bird with the ferret, just as you would with a dog. Initially, they don't like it. They're scared of it, and then they'll bait to it, and they'll realise they want to kill it. And then you'd go out with the bird, and initially the bird, a young bird, they want to kill absolutely everything. It will want to kill the ferret initially. As soon as that ferret has bolted a couple of rabbits, the hawk has gone and caught, it then understands the game. It's not focused on the ferret because it's never had any situation where it's gained positively from the ferret. It's only ever seen the ferret go down and then the rabbit come out, and they've hopefully caught the rabbit. If you've engineered a good flight and you've got the hawk ready in the time where the rabbits are still young and dumb and they don't really know where they're going. It's for me, it's sort of similar when you open when I open my back door in the morning and my birds hear me, they know it's time to go out and fly, and they start, jumping around. They know it's time. It's the same thing when the ferret sees a rabbit go down, the ferret go down the rabbit warren. That's the signal for them to go, okay, time to switch on. That white thing's gone down, a grey thing's going to hop out, and then we're having dinner. So that's how it works in their mind. In terms of recall, no, there's no recall. Sometimes, if they're taking a while, you can squeak and make noise and whistle for them. They might come up. It could be chance. It could be that they've heard you squeak and they come up. I think they come up when they come up. Sometimes you squeak, they come up straight away. Other times you'll squeak and you'll have to dig 6-8 foot to go and get them because that's the thing with them. We don't really use hobs in the UK. The hobs are the big males, just because they're big boys and they can kill a rabbit. The females can as well. The gills, they're called hobs and gills. The gills can kill a rabbit, but they don't tend to as much. If a rabbit's backed up in a corner, it can easily get past a gill and then run out of the warren. Whereas if a male ferret has got a rabbit backed up in the corner, it's game over. And then normally the youngest, so me, is digging. And sometimes it can be 6, 8, 12 foot. It can be a really big dig. So I tend not to put my ferret down the warren till after 2 o'clock. I tend not to after 2 o'clock, because if you do have to dig and it's a big dig, you might be digging in the pitch black. So yeah, that's it would be great if they had a recall. If you could call them, get off the rabbit, come back up, so I don't have to dig. But that doesn't exist. They'll play with you. They're absolutely amazing things, but they don't care about you really. We had a really big storm one day, and a tree fell and broke my ferret hutch, and all 5 of my ferrets got out, and they were all over my village. And one person woke up and he found his ferret. It got through his cat flap, and it was sleeping with his dog in his dog bed. The dog, it was a terrier. It must have been from show lines or something, because it didn't kill this ferret, and they were sleeping with each other. They it's not like they know where home is or anything like that. They're not wild animals, but they're not like a dog that knows what you do. They're not really trainable in that sense that I've experienced. You can teach them to do tricks and shit like that, but I've never been bothered for any of that sort of stuff. It's pretty easy. You get a ferret, you put it down a hole, it chases the rabbit out. Hopefully you catch the rabbit, and then you go home. The ferrets will have the innards of the rabbit that they've caught, and then the hawk will have the rest.
So you always dig to them. You never put like put a trap at the at the hole and just wait for them to come out and come back.
You can do, but a lot of the time, if they're not coming up, it's because they've killed and they're eating what's down there. So you sort of want to get to them instead of waiting, because you could be waiting a couple of days, because they could eat. They could just say they're eating the rabbit. They've not got to come up for anyone. No, and if they're down there, they might catch another rabbit. Or if they've got to a rabbit nest, they've got a bunch of babies that's there that they could eat. So you do, for me anyway. Some people might do that. I would prefer going home with everything that I've left with. ferrets, like I say, they're cheap. Some people know that they might leave it, and some people don't use ferret collars either, because the collars, as you know, they don't make them anymore. They're really expensive, and it's cheaper to get another ferret than it is to get a Mark 1 £500 ferret box with collars. But for me, they're part of my hunting team, and they get just as much respect as the dog and the hawk. So I'll dig down to them and make sure I go home with the ferret, or I'm staying there until the ferret comes out.
Got it. That's the right thing to do, I would imagine. Yeah.
Has ferreting kind of fallen off in popularity? Is that why there's not a commercially available ferret collar?
I don't think it's so that ferreting's falling off. I think it's the fact that rabbits are falling off. It's, for me anyway, where I live in the Midlands, so bang smack in the middle of England, and there's not anywhere near as many rabbits here as there once was. Something called myxomatosis went round, and if your land gets myxomatosis, I used to have rabbits on my land up until 3 years ago. I dispatched one rabbit with myxomatosis, and I've not seen a rabbit since. So it's really devastating. And VHD, I think it's called as well, that's another disease. And there's a second variant going around at the minute as well that apparently is crossing over onto brown hair, people are thinking. My friend the other day sent me a video his farmer sent him of a hare sat in its seat, breathing funny with gunk coming out of its eyes, nose and mouth. And we think it could have been something that swapped over. And it's annoying because, you know, they're man-made. I believe after the war, people stopped hunting rabbits for food. And there was so many of them, they needed to get rid of them. So they sent out myxomatosis, and it didn't really kill them. You see, I don't know if you guys have myxomatosis in the US. It's so horrible. If you see a rabbit with myxomatosis, it doesn't always kill them. You know, their eyes go gunky, they go blind, and they're just hopping in circles like confused little rabbits. And when you turn up to your land and you see that, you're absolutely gutted. Because even if you do flush a rabbit, it's got myxomatosis, it's going to run 2 feet, stand still, and get caught by a bird. It's not fun when you see that on your land. But yeah, I don't think ferreting's fallen off. It's just the lack of rabbits. One of my good friends, Liam, he just moved on all of his ferrets because he just doesn't use them enough. So he moved them on to someone in Yorkshire. They've still got absolutely loads. So he moved them on to someone that lives in Yorkshire that uses them. He used, I said earlier, there's different types of ferrets. He used some ferrets called micro ferrets. They're absolutely tiny. I don't really like them because, like I said, the smaller the ferret is, the easier it could get damaged by the rabbit. But he was using micros, and they are honestly about that big. They are like little apps. It looks AI generated. It doesn't look real when you see a micro ferret. But his ferrets were absolute crackers. They were absolutely amazing. But yeah, he loves ferrets. He loves them to bits. But you know, the rabbits aren't there anymore. That's why he was flying Harris hawks all of his life. But the rabbit population died down, and the brown hares have risen so far. So he's got a Faroe tail, and he's been flying that on brown hare instead of flying a Harris hawk on rabbits, just because there's not a lot of rabbits to go at anymore. I'm still obsessed. I think a male Harris hawk catching a rabbit for me is the pinnacle. That's what I like to see. Is that's why I've still got them, and I'm still killing myself trying to get some rabbit slips. I even took to the lamp last year trying to go out lamping with a big torch, lamping rabbits, because obviously there's more of them out in the night time. And I had a few good flights. I caught a few rabbits with him, but it was towards the end of the season, so we didn't really get too much sport in. And the rabbits that he did catch, as soon as I got to him, I was making the mistake of turning the lamp off just as I got to him, because I had my head torch on, and then he'd let go of the rabbit. So that was that was a learning curve on my behalf. But yeah, it's people still love ferrets. It's just people don't want to have to feed and clean and care for something when there's no need for it. So people have just stopped breeding them as much and things like that. Yeah.
Interesting. That's unfortunate. You might need to switch over to squirrels.
Yeah, well, that is a switch a lot of people have been making. Another good friend of mine, Stuart, he had a red tail. He got a red tail 2 years ago because grey squirrels are absolutely everywhere. They're why we don't have brown squirrels anymore, red squirrels, anymore. Because grey squirrels are absolutely everywhere. Like I said, that would be what I would go for now if I didn't have a bird, female red tail, flying at squirrels. But I've got my share of birds that I've taken on, and they're with me till the end. So I can't make that decision just yet. But if that would probably be my next bird, because you can fly at squirrels at the same time. You can go out and catch rabbits, and you can catch hare and all sorts. And I have had a friend that had one that it wouldn't catch them, but it would go at foxes. It'd go absolutely anything. You couldn't fly it with his dog or anything like that because it was a big nasty female red tail.
Hmm.
You said foxes. Does anybody have any success catching foxes with eagles there?
Yeah. There's a few eagle guys in the UK that, foxes are absolutely everywhere. Obviously, people are idiots. They feed foxes. There's way too many foxes in the UK, so they are a quarry that people have been turning to. People that fly golden eagles, if a fox slips, we're shouting fox and we're slipping it. I don't fly an eagle myself, but I got people that do fly eagles, and if a fox breaks, you get excited because that would be a cracking flight if successful. But they also they're same with deer in the UK. There's no predators, so the deer now, they're absolutely everywhere. They're a pain. The amount of deer at the side of the road and a smashed up Ford Fiesta parked in front of it because there's been 10 roe deer jump across this really busy road. So a lot of people are going, I'm going to get an eagle and catch deer because they're everywhere, and they're good slips, and also they're good eating as well.
So what's stopping you from getting an eagle?
Just like I said, the life that I live, I'm a young lad. I'm busy. I'm working. I'm looking to hopefully get a house soon. So I'm doing loads of overtime. And I did have the chance one time. The place that I used to work, the boss bought me a Vero's eagle, and I got that ready to hunt. Had it chasing the drag lure. Got that fit, and I absolutely loved her. But someone wanted to buy it for breeding, and my boss asked me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to hunt or do you want it for breeding?" And I said, "I'd be able to get out there on my day off, because I was working 6 days a week. If I have an unsuccessful day on my day off, then she can't go out till the next day." So just the circumstance that I'm in at the minute, I wouldn't be able to put the time into an eagle. And at the same time, they're heavy. they're really heavy. I don't think I could be bothered. I really enjoy. I've got a German wirehead pointer. I really enjoy just going for a walk with her. I don't have to do anything. It's lazy, really. The bird flies above me. The pointer goes on point, flush, catch. Home for dinner. I'd love to fly an eagle. But like I said, if I had the opportunity and someone said, "Do you want to fly a golden eagle or a female red tail?" I'd go for the female red tail, just because it's smart in the situation and where I live. It's lots of woodland and enclosed fields and things like that. The people that are flying the eagles, they're more, they've got more arable land, so it's more open, so you can get the really long pumping slip. Or someone I know, Billy, he's got a golden eagle that he flies on the moorland in Wales, and his dog will go and work the valley, and he'll be on top of the valley. His eagle will be above him, a hare will flush, and it will just stoop like a wild golden eagle and catch the hare. So you need to engineer the perfect slip, and if I had a golden eagle, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd end up with a frustrated eagle with where I live. And also in the UK, it's extremely hard to get hunting permission. So in the US, it's all public land, isn't it? If I'm correct.
No,
there's a lot, yeah. but there's a mixture.
Yeah. So in the UK, it's all private. It's all private, and the farmers don't really want people on the land anymore because there's so much poaching going on. It's against the law to hunt with dogs in the UK now. You can't hunt foxes and hunt hare with dogs like you used to. So people don't have permission to obviously go hunting anymore. So they still go hunting. They just go poaching, and they'll get a cheap 4x4, tear around someone's farm, smashing all their crops, smashing all their fences. And then literally a few weeks ago, I seen a dead brown hare at the side of the road, 10 minutes from where I live. I was like, fucking hell, I've not seen a hare near where I live in years. So it was right outside this farm. I went to the farm, I knocked on really excited, and I was like, you're right, mate, I've just seen a hare outside. Can I hunt on your land? Really excited. He was looking at me. He was like white as a ghost. He was like, I've just been off on the phone to the police. I had people running dogs on here last night. They killed 3 of my sheep with their dogs. There's absolutely no chance you can come hunting. And I was going, oh, okay, but I understand. But if I'm here hunting them, then I'll keep my eyes and ears open and make sure no one else is. And he was like, no, he said, with what they keep doing to my land, he says they come every couple of weeks, they're driving their 4x4s on, they're killing sheep, they're smashing through my fences and my gates. Absolutely no chance. And that's what we're up with in the UK. Once you've got your permission, you don't even want to bring people out with you because it's so hard to get permission. You don't trust that people won't come back when you're not there if it's good. So it is a really tricky thing. And that's another reason you can't fly certain birds. If I could just go out and hunt wherever, then I might change my mind and I might want to think about flying something different. But with the permission I have, I did have a goshawk 3 years ago, and I got to go in. I got to the point and she was flying free and chasing stuff, and I had 600-700 acres that I lost permission on, and that was arable land, open slips, and then I was back to I only got the goshawk because I got that permission, and when the hunting season came round, he changed his mind, so I had to move the bird on because. It was devastating, It was a 12-hour round trip to get this goshawk. Absolutely loved it to pieces. She taught me loads, but without that land, I tried to get more land in the area, but people just don't want you on, or they've already got people that they're allowing on. And if someone's hunting on that land, you don't go and ask for it because that's when you start pissing people off. So right. That's the main reason, really. I'll just stick to a harrowhawk because it's nice and easy for the small farms that I've got permission to as well. I'm 24. I'm still young in the sport of falconry. I've still got loads and loads to learn. Hopefully, when I'm 40, 50 years old, I'll have absolutely loads of land that I picked up throughout the years. But because I've not been at it that long, I've only got a few pieces. So that's what I've got to work with. Some of the older falconers have loads of land because they've gained farmers' trust over the years, but I'm just not at that stage yet. That's why I'm not flying an eagle already, and as well because they're really, really heavy.
Yeah.
How easy is it to get eagles there?
Oh, really easy, really. Like with everything, it's people are struggling to sell them because. They're like I say, anyone can just buy a bird and breed it. It's really simple. Last year I was offered 2 golden eagles to fly because they couldn't move them on. It's really easy to get eagles. You can get pretty much anything, any bird here. Obviously, there are some that are a lot more expensive. And harder to breed and things like that. But if it's relatively easy to breed, you can pretty much get it, no problem.
Wow.
I wonder if that's the way it could be here. You may not realize this, but we have a very difficult time getting a hold of golden eagles in America.
Yeah.
There's a lottery where a few people get one every year. You can trap one from the wild, but I think it's 6 people, and you cannot breed them in captivity here.
Yeah. I think it was on your last episode you were speaking about that, and you were saying that you think you should be able to breed them. And I remember listening to that thinking, you don't realise how good you've got it because the people that have them respect them and they fly properly. There's a lady, I think her name's Lauren. She flies them. She flies it to its full potential. Every video I see of hers, I watch it about 10 times. It's absolutely amazing. The amount of people you see here that got a golden eagle sat on a perch in their garden and it's chucked chicks. Like I say, people will probably not like the fact because it sounds like I'm shitting on UK falconry here. I'm not. There are amazing falconers in the UK, but that is that's real. There are too many birds in the UK that, like I say, golden eagles that are bred and they're sat there doing absolutely nothing.
I'll tell you though, Joe, there's there's a lottery system you put in for, and then I think, like I said, I think it's 6 people every year get pulled to have the opportunity to trap a golden eagle.
Yeah.
That's how the entire United States, 6 people.
The whole of the US.
The entire United States, any falconer that puts in, there's only 6.
Bloody hell. Yeah, well,
it's a little limited. I think restricted is good because you have to have an eagle endorsement in the United States.
Yeah.
So you got to be a licensed falconer, and you have to have experience with certain birds to be able to get your eagle endorsement on your falconry license to even be able to get an eagle. But having said that, there's still people that get pulled for that lottery who go and get an eagle, and they live 25 hours away from suitable quarry. Literally, 20, 25 hours away from jackrabbits would be the only suitable quarry here for the most part.
Yeah.
We've got people who live, a day's drive from jackrabbits who have golden eagles who will probably never get the opportunity to hunt.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a perfect system.
Yeah, no, well, I agree. I remember you saying last time, you were saying about there's people that have problem golden eagles taking their livestock and things like that. That, like I say, I 100% agree. Instead of, you risk the farmer just shooting it and just getting rid of it or something like that. Instead, you can have a falconer come in, trap it, train it, and use it for falconry. And then they might release it in a few years. You never know. But it's, like I said, I will never understand having something that you don't have the quarry to fly. Like I said, I've got that little falcon at the minute. I didn't want that falcon. I didn't want to fly a falcon. But she was a rescue case, so that's different. And you also get a lot of falconers that take on birds that they don't want because they're rescued from the other situations. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah, there's 6 people out of the whole of the United States is a very low number. But it's pros and cons, isn't it? At least, but it's saying at least there's not as many golden eagles that are being bred and doing absolutely nothing. Because people in the UK do struggle to sell them. If you've gone and bought 2 golden eagles and no one really knows who you are or what the eagles have done, people don't really want to buy one off you. They'll go to the breeders that have tried and tested birds that are absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's pros and cons of both, I suppose. In the UK, you can get one. So Aaron, if you wanted one, I remember you saying you'd move to somewhere where you've got the quarry. It'd be amazing because you could get one, move, and go and fly. But at the same time, it stops in America. Idiots getting them. I suppose you might have some people that have still won the lottery, gone and got one and done nothing with it. But there's not as many that aren't sat, because golden eagles are absolutely amazing creatures. And when I see them just sat there doing absolutely nothing, it really pisses me off.
Yeah, I feel that way about any bird of prey. But like I said earlier, I love pets. I've got a parrot, I've got snakes, I got turtles, I got all that stuff. I cannot stand keeping a bird of prey that's not hunting. Yeah. I don't find them enjoyable to keep. They're a pain in the ass. They shit everywhere. They're expensive to feed. They're not fun to keep as a pet. They're only fun to hunt with. Yeah.
Well, I've got 7 birds where I live. I still live at home with my parents. My dad's a falconer as well. So he's got 2 harrisawks and a barn owl. I've got 3 harrisawks and 2 falcons. The falcons, I'll fly both the falcons are rescues. So the Joe Plumado, she's getting fit at the minute. She eventually goes off and she'll want to smash crows, and I might go down the route of crow hunting with her. And the other Jerseyka, I plan on getting her on the drone once she's finished her molt and hopefully trying some ducks or something like that with her. But she was extremely malnourished when we got her. I know you got grams, but I do pounds and ounces. She weighed 1 pound 10 when I got her, and her flying weight's about 2 pound 3. So that's how low she was, skin and bone. She was the bird that won the case to get him, his animal ban and community service and all that sort of stuff. She was extreme. So she's not hunting. She probably might not ever be successful because she was just left on the perch for the first 4 or 5 years of her life. But I agree with you. If you've got a bird, it needs to be hunted. My 2 harrisaw, I've got 3. One of them, she was my first bird. She's got an injured wing. So she's just, in an aviary. She can't hunt. But my other two, one I use for work, one I use for hunting because I do bird pest control. But the one that I use for work, he still smashes stuff every day. He's catching things, and when I go up to Scotland, I do bring him with me as well, and he also catches loads of rabbits. But I agree. If you've got a bird of prey, they are designed to hunt. They should be out hunting. They should be doing what they're naturally bred to do. Like you say, I've got a fat, smelly French bulldog. He's bred to sit there on the sofa. But I've also got a German Wirehaired pointer, and she's bred to hunt. So she does the same as well. If an animal's bred to do something, I firmly believe it should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, 100%. So there's lots of stuff that I want to ask. The Gira aplomado is a interesting, beautiful bird. I was looking at your Instagram. What's that bird's personality like? So
she's I've never flown an aplomado falcon, but she seems like she takes after an aplomado more so than the Gira. She's really, really cheeky, really inquisitive. She's an imprint, but she's been imprinted incorrectly. So the guy that we rescued her from, he had imprinted her with her brother. And obviously they were starved and they would fight over food. So she's really food aggressive because she didn't have a lot of it. And if she did have it, she would have to fight for it. So she's absolutely lovely. She's a bird that will sit there with her head upside down and she'll be bobbing up and down at everyone that goes. She's amazing. But when there's food involved, she's a cow. But you've got to work with that. That wasn't down to me. That was down to her upbringing. You have to work with it. But in terms of flying style, very much aplomado. Like she's got a really long tail, really cool, and she can turn on it like a sixpence. She can turn so quick. Last year, we had to imp a full new tail into her, and I got a male Jerseyka tail, and it would have looked silly. So I had to get a female Jerseyka tail off a bird that weighed about 3 pounds, and she only flies at £1.10 really, but I'm flying her fat because she's a noisy imprint, so I'm flying her at about £1.12. But she's about a £1.10 bird, and this Jerseyka tail was the perfect length for us. That shows how long her tail is.
Wow.
And I think she takes more after the aplomado, but I know someone that breeds them, and his Ger aplomados look like Ger falcons that have had a coffee thrown over them. They just look like Ger falcons. They don't really look like they got that much aplomado. So I suppose it's how they're bred and how they come out. But I know someone that flies one and hunts one, and he catches loads of corvids like magpies and jackdaws and crows and things like that. And last year, just as I was about to put her to molt, I was flying her up until I went on holiday, and then I was going to put her away. The last day I flew her, she went in smashing after corvids, like the crows and the jackdaws. She was going crazy. So I'm hoping she'll do the same this year. But at the same time, I didn't get her to hunt. I don't really have time to successfully hunt a falcon, so I'm not going to try because I know she'll get frustrated. But if she switches onto them, then great. But for now, I'm just flying into the lure, and I probably will get her on the drone as well. I'll just take her hood off. She has a rouse. She takes off and she fly around for 3-4 minutes, just pissing around, and then she'll come in and smash the lure. She's caught me out. I think I'm quite good flying a bird to the lure. My old boss was a hard ass, and if I flew the bird to the lure, he'd make me walk back to the office. So I had to get good. And I believe I am quite good to blow my own trumpet, and she'll catch me out quite a lot. She's caught me out probably the most out of any of the birds that I've flown. Maybe I'm getting worse, or I think it's because she's actually quite good. But yeah, I think she's very much aplomado. As you can see, she's got like the coffee coloured chest and the speckles at the top and the barred tail. But she's an awesome bird. When she's screaming in the morning at 6 this morning, I was going to have a lion and get up at 8 o'clock, and she woke me up at 6 and changed my plan. So then, if you'd have asked me then, I'd have had a different answer. But at the minute, she's got a full crop, sat in her muse. I absolutely love her.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're getting worse. Not that I've seen you, that much, but I was just watching the one video you just recently posted with the lure.
Yeah.
And I mean, she makes that pass, and then she whips around so quick with that long tail.
Yeah.
She could easily catch you off guard if you're not real quick to reset.
Actually only started doing that this week because last week it was probably too windy to fly her. But if it's too windy, I think that, in the wild they've got to fly and they've got to catch the quarry.
Agreed.
So I'm out and I'm flying. And she flicked up and smashed down and caught me out, and I was pissed off because it was a second pass. But she only clipped it. But if she touches the lure, she's caught that quarry. She has it, and ever since, the little fucker's been doing that every time because she knows, hey, I caught him out last time. So yeah, she flicks up and like I'm obsessed with how my birds fly and how I can improve their flying. So when I take a video of them, I'll analyze it and I'll slow it down and freeze frame it. And the way that she turns in the air and when she's coming down, she makes about 4 turns with her tail. It's amazing to watch, and it's obviously a bird you'd never get a gerfalcon cross with an Applemado. I don't see the point in it, really. I would never. It's not a bird I would ever have, but it's a pretty cool bird to fly. So I'm doing so. Like you say, she's so acrobatic. It's really, really amazing to see her progress, and I can't wait to see her progress even more. And if she takes on catching stuff, I think she'd be a pretty cool bird to fly at ducks and things like that as well. I've got a drone, but I've just been too busy to get it going properly. But hopefully you might see her doing some cooler stuff on Instagram soon. It'd be awesome to catch some stuff with her, but like I say, at the minute, in the summer. Obviously, I do bird control, and the seagulls are absolutely everywhere. So I'm working 7 days a week, pretty much all the time. So it'd be unfair to get a bird to go out hunting with and not be able to hunt as much as I'd like.
Correct. Yeah, agreed. So, your Instagram is awesome. You have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you got all different kinds of stuff on there. Where? Because those are not your birds.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. So, like, is that like your the abatement company you work for, or is it like a bird show that you are affiliated with?
Yeah, so I used to work at a show called Warwick Castle. I used to work at a show at Warwick Castle called the Falconer's Quest. And they, we worked with absolutely everything over there. I started working there because the boss, a guy called Chris, he's an absolutely amazing falconer. He's flown pretty much everything. He's been successful with crowned eagles and things like that. And he used to fly Benelli's eagles off the soar, catching rabbits in Yorkshire. So I went and, like I say, he was a firm boss, and he taught me a lot. So I went and worked for him for 2 years and learned as much as I possibly could. But at the same time, I need to make money, and money is in pest control at the minute. But yeah, working there, like I say, he was one of them where he'd say, "What do you want to fly?" I was Vera's eagle. Got me a Vera's eagle. He got a band of the chap that were there. He got him a Benelli's eagle to fly, and we worked with Lama guys and Stellar sea eagles, white-tailed sea eagles, bald eagles, Andean condors, Egyptian vultures, turkey vultures, hooded vultures, at anything you name. We're probably crowned eagles. Also, my first job when I started there was to hand feed a crowned eagle who was imprinting, and I was like, bloody hell, this is cool. But I tell you what, probably the best bird I ever flew there was a barn owl called Jackie Chan. So I went there and I could fly all these amazing things. And my favorite one was a barn owl, just because of how good it was. When it because they're designed to fly in this country, and it was really good. But yeah, I'd say that my favorite bird I worked with there was the Vera's eagle. It's just a shame that I didn't have the time and the land to successfully hunt her. But she would have been an absolute demon on brown hares. Her feet were absolutely huge. Her only voice was if she heard a squeak, a tree squeak or a car door creak, she would grip on for dear life. So I think she probably had hunted before, but she taught me a lot. I remember my old boss there. When I was working there, I was walking her slightly wrong into the wind. She was a bit off balance, so he made me walk around the field for half an hour backwards. That's why I went there. Because he taught me a lot. I say if I know I did well because he'd let me get in the van and drive back to the office. And if I did crappy, before I'd even got the bird on the fist and feeding it up, he'd have been gone. So that's why I worked there. But yeah, when I worked there, we flew. We had a bird show. In half an hour, we'd fly about 50 birds. We'd have an Andy condor going back and forward. We'd have 2 Steller sea eagles going backward and forward. Bald eagles that would, catch chicks midair, and a white-tailed sea eagle that would catch chicks off the surface, and all the birds there. It was like a 5-star hotel for birds. Everything immaculate. The birds, amazing condition. You couldn't have a tipped feather. If a bird tipped a feather, it was the worst week of your life. The boss was so particular, but he makes really good falconers. Some of the best falconers I know have came from there. So that's why I was, and people travel from all over the country to go and work for him, and I could get there in 12 minutes. So yeah, it was sad when I left there, because where can you go that you get to work with an Andean condor and a Steller sea eagle, and then can you feed that crown eagle, and all of them can you go and take them kites out and fly them red kites and black kites and all that sort of stuff. But it's things change and you need to do different things. But if you look down my Instagram, I think the video that sort of started getting me followers was a video of a young snowy owl eating a chick whole. And I just got so many death threats after that video. But that's what blew it up. But I never started Instagram for followers. I just didn't have enough storage on my phone, so I started uploading pictures of my birds on Instagram. And it went from there. Yeah, but if you look down, there's so many amazing birds that I've had the pleasure to work with.
Are there any birds that you haven't worked with that you would like to have access to? Because it sounds like you've done it all.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Not really. The one thing I'd like to do is successfully train and hunt a Vero's eagle. I think in their juvenile plumage, they're absolutely amazing. I wouldn't say I've really flown any of them birds. I've trained them for demo, but demo falconry is very different to hunting. If people ask me what I fly and what I've flown, I just say a Harris hawk, because I've not flown anything else. I've done things for demo, but in terms of sort of a dream bird, it'd either be a Vero's eagle or a Chilean buzzard eagle, whatever you want to call it. I think they'd be amazing to fly.
Are those accessible there? Can you?
Oh yeah,
I know you said you had the opportunity to get one, but if you decided next year you wanted one, is that doable?
Yeah. Oh, easy. Yeah, easy. Oh, I'm sure I could find a breeder and put my name on a list. Within tonight.
That's a foreign concept to us.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think I could probably find someone and buy probably not a Vero's eagle, because they are really hard to get in the UK. You could probably get a name on a list if you got enough money. But a friend of mine bought a buzzard eagle, Chilean buzzard eagle. She's an 8-year-old imprint. He bought her last week, and he'd only been looking for a week, and he had her dropped off, and he's already working with her. And it took him 1 week of looking for one, and he got one, and she's already doing the job.
Wow.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Now, there is one question I had for you, and I don't want to go back in time, but your rabbits are completely different than our rabbits.
Yeah.
They seem bigger. They excavate their own holes. Our cottontails do not excavate their own holes.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only difference, but they're definitely bigger, and they're interesting to me. Yeah, it's just a cottontail. They just run in a groundhog hole or somewhere that's already excavated, but your rabbits are actually digging their own tunnels, and
they're smart with it as well. Because, for example, when I was younger, we didn't go out with hawks before I knew what birds you could have a bird of prey. I'd go out with my dad and we'd use nets, and you'd net all of the holes. You put your ferrets down, and then a rabbit shoots out. Where the fuck has that come from? I've covered every single hole. And they make tiny, tiny bolt holes that they never use because they don't want them to look used. And then when there's danger, they're out of that hole. It's like they know they're going to put nets down, and this is my escape route. And like I say, I see your videos, and it's like a different world. There's like a big long pipe, and you're kicking it, and the rabbit shoots out, and it's like like you said, they're completely different. And like I say, I love birds of prey, but I also love the quarry that we hunt, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So I respect them just as much as the birds that I've got. And one story I tell a lot of people at work, I always get a lot of people coming up to me saying, "You're a murderer. You're a murderer. You just want to kill birds." And I'm sure you guys get it all the time as well. And the story always is one of the best things I've ever had happen to me when out hunting. I've just got out the van, put the bird in the tree. Straight away, I heard the bird. When you hear it thump into the bramble, and you hear a rabbit squeak, and I'm like, "Fucking hell, yeah, I can go home early finish. I can go and have a full English breakfast." I get there, and the rabbit is just about to get down the warren, and my bird's got 1 foot on it, and it's stretched out, and it's looking at me like, "You need to come and fucking help me, because I can't hold on anymore." I get there, I've got the rabbit by its other leg with my gloved hand, and like the glove is on my hand, but I've got it just at the tip of my fingers. So as I let go to re-grip, my hawk thinks I've got it. It lets go to re-grip, and the rabbit gets away. And I'm thinking, how fucking cool is that rabbit now going back to its mates? I've just had one dickhead holding 1 foot, one dickhead on the other foot, and I've got a way to tell the story. And I say that's why I hunt, because you don't catch everything. A lot of the things that we catch, it's old or injured a week or something like that. It's still survival of the fittest. When we're out there, we're with trained birds, but sometimes, a January pheasant, it gets up and it blows your bird out of the world, and it's gone, and it's got like 2 rockets up its ass, and you're like, "Fucking hell, there's no chance I'm catching that." I forgot what the question was. I got carried away talking about
that's good stuff. No, that's good stuff. No, I just was commenting on the difference between your rabbits versus our rabbits, because our rabbits don't dig holes. They just use pre-dug holes. It's just fascinating.
It's especially I went to a place in Wales last year, not last year, the year before, and it was like sandy soil, so it was like sand dunes. So you walk in, and then you just fall over because you've fallen into a rabbit warren. And they, like you say, they dig out these warrens, and sometimes they can be all over the hill. And you'll put the ferret in, and someone will bolt 10 holes away. And it's you need to know the warren. And sometimes if I'm out with 2 ferrets and there's a warren that's absolutely massive, you don't even bother, because the rabbit's just going to run around it, and you need pressure in there. So the ones you really want, where there's 2 or 3 holes, you put the ferret in, and you know which one it's coming out of. And I don't know if you get the same, because I know you do put your dachshunds in the holes and things like that sometimes, but it's only an entrance and an exit, if I'm correct.
Sometimes there's more, and sometimes, just like you said, sometimes they'll shoot out of a random, like the leaves are covering it, and you just see the rabbit shoot through the leaves, and you're like, "Where the hell was that?"
Yeah. Well, what we get is I was taught when we'd got a ferret in, you don't wear deodorant, you don't wear aftershave, you don't want to smell like anything. Have a shower, but don't use any soap, because the rabbits will smell you, and if the rabbits know you're there, they're not going to bolt, and then you're going to be digging out a ferret with attached to a rabbit. So you put the ferret down, and everyone shuts up. If I would talk, I'd get sent back to the car. So everyone's quiet, and then the ground starts moving, because the rabbits, you can hear them getting chased by the ferret, and you know where the ferret is, and you can hear them. It's bumbling against your feet, and then bumbling somewhere else, and you know where the rabbit is, and then out of nowhere, 2 rabbits might bolt, and your bird will always go for the wrong one, and then they both get away. But it's the same. Some people, they'll go out and they're using lurchers, and it's something I'd love to do, but I've already got my setup. I don't need to add anything else into the mix. And you can see, the lurchers work with the ferrets as well, and you can see their ears twitching and moving where the rabbit's going, and they can hear where the ferret is. If you guys ever come to the UK, it'd be absolutely awesome to take you guys out with the ferrets, and
yes,
you can see how they work, because like I say, where I live, there's not a lot of rabbits, so I need the ferrets really, and it's all hedgerows and small fields, and you put your bird in the tree above, you put your ferrets down, and you might be working 5, 6, 7 warrens before you get a slip. But it's so exciting. It really is. I love going out with my dog and catching pheasants, but bolting rabbits, it's some of blood from my granddad. It's something that it gets me so excited, as you can probably hear in the tone of my voice.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir over to us, man.
Yeah.
Joe, I got a question for you. How would we dress if we came out hunting with you?
How would you dress?
Good question.
So when we go out, the people I go out with, we're normally, really smart, shirt and tie a lot of the time. A checkered shirt with a tie that's got pheasants on it. I don't wear a tie because I've got a fat neck and I can't breathe. But a shirt and tie, a smart jumper, green jumper, and they've got the elbow patches on them.
Really?
Yeah, it's
you gotta have a pair of knickers as well.
Yeah, but it's one of them when you're out hunting, and if your bird goes onto someone else's land, as flights do, they don't always stay on your land, and the farmer approaches you. If I look like a scruffy fuck, he's going to go get off my land. If I'm dressed proper, he's going to go, this person's a respectable falconer. He clearly takes pride in what he does.
That's why they keep calling the
concept to us.
That's why they keep calling the cops on me, because I look like a disheveled homeless guy.
Yeah.
They would be even more suspicious of you if you were out in the woods wearing a tucked in shirt with a tie.
Oh, they think I'm trying to sell them something.
When I go out, I normally wear a checkered shirt with just some like green trousers that are thick, because you don't want to be getting stung and all that sort of stuff with the stinging nettles and the brambles. A smart jumper. They've normally got elbow pads on, and then a flat cap. Your typical British arsehole. I'm not posh whatsoever, but when I go out, I try to look posh. I probably don't. Probably look like an arsehole, but still, it's. You want to look as presentable as possible in case you come up against. Every time I see a farmer, I'm pulling over, getting out, begging them to hunt on their land. And a lot of the time, I'm in my work clothes, and they're going, "No, he's going to come and run dogs and bring his mates and poach on my land." But if you go and you look as professional as possible, then they might let you have a go, and they might go out with you on your land, and then you might get some more permission, because it is everyone's desperate for more permission. Well, I am anyway. Desperate. There's a lot of people that are fortunate not to have it, but yeah, if you're dressed presentable, then it could open a lot of doors for you. You never know. But also at the same time, it's nice to look nice, isn't it? And if you can look nice while smashing rabbits with your Harris Hawk, then why not?
Yeah,
agreed. Nice, you feel nice, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Sometimes I'm out there, in my work clothes, looking like just your standard guy that's just out for a walk. You don't know, but if I need to go out after work or whatnot. But if I'm going out, sometimes I'll change and go home, and you want to look good. Yeah.
So if me and Aaron come over there, we're gonna dress like the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
we're gonna come out there.
The Peaky Blinders, they're actually where that was based is 15 minutes from where I live.
No way.
Yeah,
my
granddad, his dad was used to drink in the same pubs as them. A lot of people will say that, so people think I'm chatting shit, but he was from Small Heath, my granddad, and that's where the Peaky Blinders was. So yeah, we'll take you down to where they were, and we'll get you dressed like them, and we'll get you back at.
That would be epic, man. Yeah, I want to see. I would come, like me and Aaron. We're with the podcast. We're planning a new trip every year.
Yeah,
with the podcast. So my thing is, I would want to come, and I'd like to bring Franny with me. Yeah, I think that'd be epic, and put Franny down some of those warrens. I think that'd be ridiculous. That'd be a lot of fun, just for the novelty of it,
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could try it if you came. Like I say, I've not got loads of land, so we can get out on my land and try some stuff. But I've also got friends that I'd say, I've got some buddies from America coming over. Can you sort this out? I've got a friend that I'm sure would let you go out on his land. He flies a Phrygian assault cross with a red tail, and it was its first season this year, and he smashed, I think, 35 brown hares with it, and it was
wow.
It's absolutely it got so good to the end. It would refuse the easy slips and just take the long ones.
Nice.
It was like the easy slips wasn't enough for it, and it would still catch the easy ones. It wouldn't refuse them, but you knew when it took off for a long, it was gone. So yeah, if you guys come over, we'll get you dressing like Tommy Shelby and Arthur Shelby.
That's right.
Like I say, if you brought Franny, yeah, we could 100% run that and try to. Even if you came over, I've started going to a field meet in Scotland. I've only been a couple of times, but I could see if I could bring you guys over and you could see, 50. Oh. We go and rent out a hotel in Scotland, and it's just falconers. You go on the back garden. It's got golden eagles, goshawks, Harris hawks, falcons all perched out, and then we just all go out on different parts of the land. We've all got ferrets, putting them down the holes, and I think that'd be awesome for you guys.
We should set it up. Let's stay in touch. Let's get this set up because 100%. I would love to do that, man. Yeah. I would freaking love that. And me and Thomas Shelby are the same height, so it works out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 5'7".
Yeah, we can sort that out for sure. That was a big issue.
I love that.
I got a couple questions for you, but one of them is since we're on cliches, what's the deal with gypsies and tinkers?
They're not gypsies; they're travelers. Okay, watch your mouth.
Travelers. I don't really know what a tinker is. I thought that was more of an Irish thing, but yeah, I've never had a bad experience with gypsies really in the UK. There are loads of travellers in the UK. But
really? There really are a lot of them.
Oh yeah. There's loads of them, but I've never had an issue. I've always grown up in a boxing gym, and it's absolutely full of them. One of my best mates, his cousin used to box in the gym, and I'm not chatting shit. He turned up to the gym on a horse and carriage and leave it there whilst he trained.
Oh, that's neat.
Honestly, and he's like, I've never had an issue with travellers. Some of my bestest friends come out hunting with me. They're travellers. I don't really know tinkers. No one ever really says that. I think that's just what they say in the movies or whatnot. But yeah, they are really traditional. If you come down to where I am, you will probably see them up and down on their horse and carriage. I'm not chatting shit. I'm being dead.
Do they have lurchers?
Yeah. They have lurchers. It is against the law to run lurchers on brown hair, so they still have them. What they do with them, I don't know.
Perfect.
They still have them, and the dogs are always the dogs and horses are always in pristine condition. Always, they are the complete working dog. The ones that I see anyway, they are awesome.
Let's get that on the schedule. When is that meet?
They are in November and I think February. The last one was because it was just before my birthday, if I remember. Yeah, November and February. But I'll speak to the guy that organises it and see when they are, and I'll see if we can get it down where you come down and meet us there and you watch some hunting.
Yes, yeah, that would be a blast, man. I don't know about Aaron, but I'm down for that.
Yeah. I'll speak to Dave. I'll speak to the guy and see what he thinks. Because, like I say, it's not mine. I've only been a few times. I'm still relatively new there myself, so I don't look like a dickhead. Go, no,
right.
Okay. But let me bring loads of people.
Right.
But if I ask him and I explain, and I'm sure he'll have seen his stuff, I'm sure he'll be like, yeah, no worries. If not, then we can 100% get you out and hunting in the UK.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be a blast. Yeah, because I grew up, I was like same as yourself. I was obsessed, but I was 12, 13 when I started getting obsessed. So I just sat in front of my TV and watched Nick Fox, the Bird of Prey Management series, that whole series that he put out.
Yeah.
And so when I think of like falconry and I like think back of when I was young, I just remember those videos and like the clips in the countryside, and it just, I'd love to get over there and visit and see the way you guys do things. It's just fascinating to me. You know what I mean? There's so much history there.
When done properly, it's like I say, when you're watching a male Harris hawk screaming across the moorland after a rabbit, and then you hear the squealing, and then you're busting the gut to get over there. There's nothing that beats it. But at the same time, I see some stuff that you guys are doing in America and over there, and I'm like, fuck now. I'd love. I'll be honest. If it wasn't for, how the horror stories you hear about everyone's got a gun and all that sort of stuff in America.
Come on,
And
no, you're fine.
I'd probably move over there.
No, you'd have fun over here. We'd welcome you with open arms. We'd love
Yeah,
Keep
well,
talking like that, I'll pull my fucking gun on you.
yeah. What the hell are you doing?
I'd love to come over at some point as well and watch how you guys do, because it's different. You know, in the UK, it's against the law to car hawk. So, but in America, it seems that that's what a lot of people are doing, and
it's only legal if it's an invasive species.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
European starling, pigeons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sparrows, European sparrows. Yeah, it's not legal to do it on native quarry here.
Oh, okay. And I was going to say, it's cool, but I like the quarry having just as much chance of getting away. There's the hawk catching it. I think it is, like I say, if you're doing pest control, it's great, and he's smashing things, and the hawk's having a great time. But I love the quarry getting away just as much as I love the quarry. That's how it is for me.
That's where you and Casey part ways.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I don't like so much when they get away, but if they make some awesome maneuver and they outsmart my bird, I will give them. I'll say, all right, that one. Yeah. We'll go to another one. We'll leave that one alone. That one earned it.
But you're still pissed off though, aren't you?
Well, especially it depends on the bird I'm flying. You know what I mean? If I have Betsy, my North American, that's a made bird, and she misses something because of, it's like, all right, that rabbit, that rabbit deserved to live. But if the other one, the albitus bird, if she misses, I'm pissed off either way.
Casey has a river of rage flowing through him at all times.
I really do. I got to relax, man. I got to take a chill pill.
So, Joe, I got a question for you while we're talking about differences. It seems like falconry is more common or more popular there in England. What is your go-to for falconry supplies? What's the most popular place?
A lot of my stuff, my anklets and my jesters, I'll make myself a lot of the time. If I've got braided stuff, there's a girl over here. She's called Braid by Jade. Her name's Jasmine. She makes amazing equipment. That's only because my friend is they're a couple, so it was easy to go through him and get some stuff because she's always got a backlog of orders. But I'd say she makes some amazing stuff, but it's for different stuff. It depends with your hoods. I'll go to a guy called Anthony Ash. I know you guys use Ashley Clark a lot of the time. I've used some of his stuff before. There's a chap called Keith Wakefield that makes equipment. He makes vests and gloves and things like that. There's loads of different guys that make really good stuff. It's just what you prefer. I've used different hoods. A guy called David Bishop makes really good hoods. A guy called Matt Aggott, he makes really good hoods, and he makes really funky styles, and he uses really cool leather. But there's so many independent people over here.
Right, yeah.
Can you walk into a store and buy falconry supplies there?
No.
It's not that popular, Aaron.
No, what I think it is I think it looks more popular because there's more people losing birds. So you see it all the time on Facebook. I think that's what it is, because every time I open Facebook, Harris Hawk lost in Bristol, Harris Hawk lost in Yorkshire, and it's there's a Harris. Like, I don't know if you guys seen recently, there was a Harris Hawk on the news that had been hitting people on the top of the head. Look it up after this podcast.
Oh no.
Oh, it's so hard to lose a Harris Hawk.
Yeah, there was a Harris Hawk, and it didn't help that ITV News uploaded it on the 1st of April, so people thought they were taking the piss. But there was a Harris Hawk that was out, and it was living in this village, and people had been feeding it, and it was living around, and it was going down and absolutely smashing people, and they had blood pissing all over them. Honestly, it looked like a scene from Cujo. You know what I mean? It was like, and it was crazy. So every time Harris Hawk. But I think that's why it looks more popular, because where I live in my village, there's only one person that has birds of prey, and in the surrounding villages there's no one.
Okay.
It's the Midland. When I used to go to a falconry club, there wasn't that many people in the club. It's still a lot of people at work. They go, I didn't know you could keep birds of prey. Why have you got one of them? And because I work in public places a lot of the time, shopping centres, people will ask me. Loads of people are clueless to what I'm doing and why I've got a bird of prey. And they always just talk about the film Kes. Oh, I watched Kes when I was a kid. So it's not as common, I think, as you might think it is. But I understand if I was an American and I'd open up Facebook and seen Harris Falconry UK, Harris Falconry, you'd understand. But yeah, it's not that you can't walk into a shop and buy something falconry related. It's all independent people making things. There's a guy called Calvin Crossman that used to make really good perches. Really good. Another guy called Mark Parker. He makes these awesome. I've got 3 of his block perches. They're about £300-400 each because he turns them on a lathe and they've got really cool wood going up them. He also makes really nice bow perches and things like that. And JWL, they're another company that makes really good perches, but they're all in it's not like you can walk into a Costco and you can buy like falconry perches or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like that.
I thought there might be, I could imagine maybe 1 or 2, specialty stores around that where you could walk in a store and buy falconry supplies, but
no, we have different falconry.
Maybe on Diagon Alley or something.
No, we have falconry fairs throughout the summer, and that's where people normally go to get their stuff. So what I'll do is I'll save up my overtime throughout the summer. Then when the fairs are on, I'll go and I buy what I'll need if I'll need. I'm always buying job lots off Facebook Marketplace, so I've got more than stuff. But if I do need a new piece of leather, I'll go there and buy, a piece of leather or some leather oil or something like that. And if I need a new perch, I'll go to these fairs. And that's we don't have shops, but like I say, we have fairs, and that's where people normally go. The old boys that don't use the internet as much and don't order things online, they'll go and stock up for the year, leashes, swivels, bells, all that sort of stuff that they need. So not really a store, but I don't know if you guys have fairs as much, but we have a few different country fairs. We
should start a fair here, Casey. Do a falconry fair.
Well, they kind of have one. It's not really a falconry fair, but they have a bird of prey day in New York.
Yeah,
and all the falconers in the surrounding area come, and there's a bunch of people, a bunch of birds, and there's no gear that's sold, but yeah, that'd be fun.
I think a falconry fair would be cool.
I think it's different because obviously in America it's so big. You can't really put one fair on or 2 fairs on and everyone can make it. But in the UK, there's a really good falconer called Dave Sharp. You might have seen him post some stuff on the hub. Him and his son have a centre, and they have started putting on a fair, and they are pretty much in the Midlands. They don't live far from me. They live about 40 minutes. So that's a good fair that everyone in the UK can get to, even if they have to travel, 3-4 hours. It's not really that far to travel if you're going for the weekend, and they can go and get absolutely everything. But in America, I suppose you can't really do that, can you? If you live days
I guess
away.
The closest thing would be the NAFA meet. You know what NAFA is, Joe?
Yeah.
The NAFA meet where the vendors set up.
Yeah, people can go over and spectate at the NAFA meets, can't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're more than welcome.
That's something that I'd love to do. Go and spectate at the NAFA meets and just see a bunch of American falconers that know what they're doing what they do best. Or is that not how it goes?
They don't know what they're doing.
Oh, you'd be better off coming to a Jersey meet.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
The problem with the NAFA meet is you're still getting kind of a snapshot of falconry. You're not getting the whole picture because it's always somewhere in the Western United States.
Yeah.
And it's usually somewhere that has jackrabbits, which is cool, right? That's great. But Casey was saying, come to the Jersey meet. It's way better.
Yeah, you'd have fun. Yeah, and it's any NAFA meet that's ever been put on is no less than 22 hours away from me driving.
Yeah,
it's not like close or anything.
Yeah, so it's one of them. It's even if that they did, I don't know what they do, if they do buy and sell equipment there or anything, then you'd be like, no, I'd rather order online than go all the way there. But the fairs are a good thing in the UK, and if you're ever in the UK in summer, like I say, if you come in the season, we can get at Huntington. And if you ever come in the summer, there's something at the minute going on. It's called Vowley. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the falcon racing.
Oh yes, yeah, I'm slightly familiar with that. I got invited by somebody to go to one of those.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's in September. A good friend of mine, a guy called Ben, he works for Nick Fox. And Nick Fox is the chap that runs all of Valley. He's made the Road Crow and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. If you were to come in the summer, that'd be a cool thing to go and see, because it's people that are flying these like big Ger Falcons, and they're manoeuvring in such awesome ways. And there's also quite a lot of money on the up for grabs as well. You can do a flat race; it's 400 meters, and if your bird wins that, flies faster, you can win £4,000. I think the prize is. So I might see if that rescue Ger Applamada Falcon will win me a couple grand.
Yeah. There you go. Man, that's awesome. What? Just quick question, like super detailed, kind of like obscure question, but over here, our go-to for leather is kangaroo hide. Is it the same over there?
I prefer kangaroo hide. Yeah, okay. I prefer kangaroo hide. At the minute, I've got bull hide, because that's all that they had when I went there, and it does the job. You know, I'm flying. Yeah. My main bird, my favorite ever bird in the world is male harrisolt, Spyro. I love him to bits, and he doesn't need, bull hide, kangaroo hide, normal leather. It doesn't really. He doesn't bait. He sits still. He doesn't stretch his equipment or anything like that. But kangaroo hide, that's the go-to. You can get that. That's your bread and butter, really. Yeah,
it's expensive though. Like a quarter hide is like $200 or $120 or something like that.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I'll normally just buy the sort of like big squares, but I normally buy the offcuts because I'm cheap as fuck. So
right.
I'll get the offcut, and I'll just make what I do. A lot of people don't make their equipment anymore. I don't know. Of Baba Yaga, he makes a lot of anklets and things like that, and Ashley Clark. And you can go and buy stuff, but I like making my own stuff, because I like the. When I was a kid and I was learning falconry and I was 11, 12 years old, I'd spend all day cutting up old fucking bags, and if I seen a leather sofa dumped at the side of the road, I'd take a big bit of leather off it and practice making it. And I didn't do all of that just to go and buy some Force Armory anklets. I did all of that shit when I was younger to know how to do it now.
Yeah, I can't sew. I love Ashley Clark's squirrel chaps, but I would need to sew to be able to do those.
So do you use chaps? Because I've never flown a red tail or anything on squirrels. Of course,
let me pause for a second, because this is the first time it's come up since I was corrected. Yeah, Joseph Carter, who you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
he texted me. He was very upset with me because I call them chaps. They're actually pronounced shaps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, apologies. The shaps.
It's spelled CHAP. It's chap.
Not according to him. He said cowboys call them shaps. So.
Well, I'm not wearing assless chaps to ride a horse. I'm putting them on my bird.
Assless shaps.
Yeah. All right.
Are they? Because I've heard people say that they can actually cause more squirrel bites because there's more for the squirrel to hold on to. Do you guys use them, or do you not use them?
Here's the thing, Casey, because Casey doesn't use them. Casey he's only flying goshawks though. I tried them last year for the first time ever, because I've always just kind of scoffed at them. I was flying a nice red-tailed hawk last year, and sponsor of the show, Heather McNeamer, she's an American retailer for Ashley Clark.
Yeah,
Mountain State Falconry Supply. I bought some from her just to try out. And there were multiple times that I got there and the squirrel was hanging on to the fringes from the shaps. So, and I believe that if it weren't for those fringes there, it probably would have found a toe or the top of the foot instead.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they were a hindrance to the red tail at all.
Yeah.
But I do think with something like a goshawk that you need the less on the feet, the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with the red tail, I don't think it matters. I think that little bit of protection helps. And it did not seem to hinder her at all.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some people say the greatest movement say that they weren't. I've never had any experience with them, but I thought, someone flying a red tail in America. It's grey squirrels, isn't it, that you guys are flying at? Is there two different types of squirrels that you guys fly at?
There's a bunch, yeah.
Yeah, mostly gray squirrels, but there's something else here called fox squirrels that are larger.
Yeah,
fox squirrels look like I'm of the opinion that there's a couple different fox squirrels. There's the southern fox squirrel, which is in the part of the country I'm in, and then there's like the western fox squirrel. The southern fox squirrel looks like a monkey climbing up a tree.
It looks like one of your rabbits out there in those moors with a long bushy tail. That's how they're
it's
huge.
like 3 feet long. They're huge.
Yeah, because I think that when I look at, because obviously we've got grey squirrels here, and they're an invasive species. So I'm constantly pinging them out the window when they're on the bird feeder with the air rifle and catching them in traps. And I absolutely love shooting grey squirrels because
that's good hawk food too.
Pardon?
Good hawk food.
Oh
too.
yeah. Well, I get them for the ferrets. They're one of the main things that I feed the ferrets as well, because a lot of farmers shoot them, and obviously they shoot them with lead. I don't feed lead shot things to my birds, but the ferrets, they absolutely smash them, and they go through a squirrel a day pretty much. I'll go in the morning, take out the skull and take out the tail, put it in the bin, and then give them another ones. But yeah, they're great food. They're tough food. Ones that I catch in a trap, I'll dispatch and I'll give them to my birds throughout the molt, because it keeps everything trim and proper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you buy supplementary food for your birds during the molt?
Yeah. So I work for a pest control company, and unfortunate enough that they provide me with bird food. So
nice.
we buy boxes of chicks. There's about 250 chicks in a box, but also quail and things like that. But a lot of the time, I've got things that I've caught throughout the year that I've got in the freezer. I've got a bunch of partridge, pheasants, and rabbits as well. I've also got a bunch of crows if I do want to switch that falcon onto crows. I got a load from my mate just in case, but I'm undecided yet, because if you want to fly crows, you really need to make your bird sharp, because after they've caught one, they don't want to catch another one, because crows fight back, and they can fuck your bird up. A good friend of mine, Zach, he was flying a New Zealand hybrid, which is a really cool bird. And
that's cool.
He was catching crows. This bird, I'll send you his YouTube link. His bird would do some cool stuff and catch crows. But his bird got killed. He got to his bird on a crow. I think his GPS failed, so he couldn't get there as quick as he would have liked to. The crow was dead, but the crow's mates were still mobbing his bird, and it died the next day. I think it had internal bleeding.
I've heard that before.
If your bird does catch a crow, you really need to make it sharp in order to carry on being successful. So what I've heard, I've never caught crows, so I could be chatting shit. There could be a crow hawker out there right now listening to this saying, "Joe, shut the fuck up." But that's what I've been told. And the last thing I want to do is turn a bird onto crows that's a noisy imprint and having to have to sharp her up, because even more noisy. But I've got a bunch of crows in the freezer as well. My freezer, I've got 3 freezers in the garage. One's full of food that I bought. One's full of food that I've caught or hit with a car that can be fed to ferrets or birds, and one that's with lead shot things that's strictly for the ferrets, that isn't fed to anything else. So I've got them split up that way. But mainly the ones that I buy, rats, mice, but they're quite expensive now.
They are,
and quails as well.
Yeah, rats and mice are insanely expensive.
Yeah, really, which is crazy, because at work in the winter, the bird work dies down. I'm doing general pest control, and I'm catching so many mice, but I'm not feeding them to my birds, because obviously they could have been poisoned or something like that. But you can go out and catch 10 a week, but you want to buy 10, you have to remortgage your house.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. A buddy of ours, a friend of the show that was on the show, Derek Remley, he has a whole rat breeding operation going on at his house, and they breed like rats.
yeah.
So it's not that hard. You just have to be on top of it and have a good setup for cleaning and stuff like that. But he's got stacked to in his garage. He got stacked to with these rack systems with like hundreds and hundreds of rats.
I have seen that, and I always see the mice setups and the rat setups and the quail breeding setups go up for sale, and I think it would be nice, but then I think, can I be bothered to have someone else to clean out and feed? Right. I don't. If I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. My boss is pretty sound. She'll pay for my bird food if I don't take the piss. So until that stops, I can't be bothered to do it. If that stops, I might have to start looking at breeding my own stuff. Yeah. But it'd be a cool thing to do, because then it's completely self-sustainable. If you don't catch enough things, you bred your own food for your birds and so on. But I do like feeding chicks, especially for the birds. through the birds that I'm working for pest control, because I can give them a bit more and it's not going to, change their appetite too much. Where mice and rats, you're feeding them and it's quite rich food, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good for rats and mice are great quality for the birds.
Yeah,
really good.
100%. Yeah, I normally feed throughout the week with my birds, especially my work birds. If I'm flying and I'm hunting my Harris hawk, I don't really double kill when I go out hunting. If my Harris hawk catches a pheasant or a rabbit, I normally tie it to my jacket, sit there with my dog, and let it eat as much as it wants. And it can have a couple of days off. Because for me, I am going out to kill, but I'm going out more so to watch a bird do what it naturally was bred to do, and then have a fat crop, go home, have the biggest bath of its life, and sit there happy as can be. That's my aim. So yeah, it's that's what I'm going out for. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's nothing better than just letting your bird catch something, letting it eat as much as it wants, step up to the glove and go home. It's just such a nice feeling.
And then you weigh them the next day and their crops got bigger overnight.
Yeah. It's just, we just get, especially in America, I don't know, maybe there's like a competitive thing that we have here. I don't know if it's the same over there, but you just start wanting to catch a lot and stack, catch a bunch and like really catch, and it's not really necessary.
It does get like that, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because your one is to catch more, which means your bird's getting a hell of a lot better. Even if it is, it's a cock measuring contest. Regardless, both birds are getting better because the falconer is trying to prove who's got the bigger cock, and that's how it is. But regardless, your bird is going to have a chest that's rock solid because it's got so much muscle on it, because it's being flown every single day for as long as possible because they want to catch one more than their buddy.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Falconers, without sounding disrespectful, with bloodthirst, I want to go out and catch things.
Only the good ones, yeah.
Yeah.
You're out there to kill something, man. You're not out there to dilly dally.
Oh, yeah. You owe it to the bird. You've especially in America, you've taken that bird out of the wild. You can't leave it in an aviary with a beak that needs coping and feeding it just shit food. It needs to be out there flying more and harder than ever before, because and from what I understand, you guys, you take a young bird from the wild and then release it because you want it to have a better chance of surviving, because obviously the success rate isn't amazing for a young bird of prey. So when you're taking that young bird of prey and you're releasing it, you want it to have the skills to be able to live a long, successful life in the wild.
That's it, man. 100%. Hit the nail on the head. Now, Joe, is there anything else that we didn't cover with you that you think we should cover or that we missed?
1 sec. Oh, give me 1 second.
No problem. Oh, yes. Yeah, he's going to bring us a ferret to see. I'm already looking at flights, man. Let's go.
Let's do it.
There it is.
So, this is Magic and Mini Junior.
That's awesome. Look at that.
Joe's got his 2 ferrets out.
That's neat. Look at them, man.
Looking at me through the window because she thinks we're going hunting, because she's just heard these scratching. And you can smell them when she's looking at me, ears perked up. She thinks it's nearly 11 o'clock here, so it's bedtime, but she thinks we're going out. So, yeah. These are these are my 2 best working ferrets, Magic and Mini Junior. These are off the first line of ferrets I had. I'll breed these next year. You can see they're in season.
Yeah.
So these won't be bred this year, but they will be put to a sectomized hob out season, because if they're in season, they can easily get infected and then they can get ill.
So I heard that. I heard that from, who was it? Sean O'Neill said that you have to. So when they come in season, you have to breed them, even if it's from a male that's not fertile, right? To help.
Yeah. So that's, I've had people tell me it's bullshit and that they never breed their gills and they're fine, but I think it doesn't kill them, but they can eat. Obviously, they're big and puffy at the minute.
Yeah, so they're ready to go.
yeah, they can they can drag on the floor, get infected, get dirty, and it can make them injured and ill and weak, and so it's best to take them out of season. So the last time I bred these guys' mother, one of my old bosses who had 2 gills off me, I said he could only have 2 gills if he took a hob and vasectomized it, so I could use the hob in the future. So every year I take the hob off him, so they technically shag their brother. But
right.
I'm sure they don't care. They're ferrets.
Yeah.
Pop them away now. I'll just quickly pop them outside because they're scratching, and the dog is like looking at me, going crazy.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Going out so,
thank you for that. Thank you. That's so neat, man. I want a ferret now.
He had a box with the strap on it. That's what you should have for Franny, man.
Yeah, so that's my ferret box. That's what they go in when they go out. A couple of old boys that I know just put them in their coat pocket. But the last thing I want is a ferret making its way down and biting my ball sack or some shit like that. So, which I say because has happened to someone that I know before.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but I can't picture myself running through the woods with that box over my shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot of the time you're not. A lot of the time, some people don't like working ferrets because you can get fucking cold because you're standing there, you're looking at the top of Shelby with your big coat on and your flat cap, and it's normally December, and you're waiting for a ferret to bolt a rabbit. And sometimes you can be there for 20 minutes while still working the warren.
You ever build a little fire, warm your hands up?
No, you got to be quiet. You got to be quiet, and you got to keep your scent down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you could go out with a hand warmer, but then you'd be called a pussy. So you just got to firm it.
100%. Yeah, you can't have a hand warmer.
Yeah, and you normally just lay in the side, and sometimes if your bird's caught a rabbit, the ferrets will be back in the box or something like that. Once there's nothing in the warren, they'll come up. But yeah, it can get. It can get, if it's a long day, you shoulder just start aching carrying that box around. But it's that's what that's what I like about with ferrets, and it's not really changed with other than the collar advancing. With falconry, it's really advancing all the time. We've got a new GPS, new systems. You're flying a rogue crow and you're flying a drone, and you've got your bull-X lures, and everything's changing. With ferrets, it's pretty much the same. I'm still spitting in my hand and letting an aggressive ferret lick it like they would have done, years ago.
That's cool.
Cool. Nothing really has changed too much. Like that box there is probably like 25 years old.
Right.
I'm sure I've still got some really old hemp nets that my granddad used to have. So it's all, pretty much the exact same, which is what I love, and which is what I love about falconry. In the grand scheme of things, it's not changed that much, has it really?
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of things that advance on. Things have changed, but it's still the same sort of thing to it. Same with the ferrets.
We just have more sophisticated ways of keeping track of our birds. Otherwise, it's still the same.
Yeah. We're practicing the same sport that was practiced thousands of years ago. Exactly the same, other than just like Aaron said, just better methods of keeping track of where the birds are. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Now think about it. If they took away all of our technology, the three of us could fly.
I'll be out tomorrow hawking with bells. I don't care.
No scale, no telemetry. You could still do it.
Yeah,
I could do it.
A lot of the time, and I suppose it's different when you're flying goshawk, it's because you need to track your bird down. But when I'm flying goshawk, I don't ever really use the telemetry because it's following on. It's always in sight or in sound because it's got that. It's good to have. Should anything stop you getting to your bird, you can see where it is. For example, we're doing pest control. If your bird finds a nest full of pigeon squabs, you might be sat there under the bird all night waiting for it to come down the next day.
Happened to me one time.
Yeah, if
she didn't spend the night. She didn't spend the night, but she caught a pigeon and she landed on a roof that had a bunch of squabs on it, and she was just up there eating squabs.
Yeah. I had luckily my pest control bird, Bob. I call him Butter Talons Bob. He's dumb as fuck. Honestly, he has something wrong with him up there that means he's a bit slow. He's really, really slow. He'll be on a dead pigeon. I'll throw out in a panic an ungarnished lure, and he'll leave it to come to the lure because he's had food on the lure before. He'll leave a pigeon to go and chase another pigeon that's just got to be when he's got a feet full of food. Whereas my other bird, Spy, would never do that. That's why I don't use Spy for pest control. I just use Bob. But yeah, it can be a nightmare. I had Spy one time up in a nest full of squabs, and he was up there for nearly 2 days, and I was just sat underneath him. And the way we got him down was my dad came with his Harris hawk. My dad said, "I'll put my Harris hawk on a rabbit," and then Spy would get jealous, come down, and he did. He came down to my dad because his bird was eating a rabbit, and it was jealous toddler. I want that. And because he's got it, I want it, even though he had a crop full of squabs. After the first day, he looked like he was about to come down. And then I was flashing a chick, chucking a dummy bunny out, and he turned around, heard squeaking, another squab in there.
Question for you is, I just looked it up, but I can't find anything. I don't know if you know. When were ferrets implemented in falconry for the first time? Like 100 years, 200 years, like, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure. It started off people just cropping polecats and using polecats, and they eventually bred as with dogs from wolves, the good ones to make the ferret. But I have no idea. It's probably something that I should know. Means that I'm a falconer that uses ferrets, but I've no idea. But they've been doing, like I say, my granddad, he needed them to survive when he was younger, and a lot of it he did. That's how he got the majority of his food, is going out and catching it, poaching and all that sort of stuff. And that's what fed my love for it. And that's what he used to do.
It's awesome.
It's been going on. It's been going on thousands of years. These sorts of methods, I'm sure of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's neat. That'd be a good study, because we have like a lot of info on dogs.
Yeah.
It's like 10,000 plus years. Birds are roughly 5,000 years for falconry, right?
Yeah.
And then like ferret would be a cool study to do. Like
it might not be thousands of years, but it's been going on a long, long time. It's something that people have been doing forever, from what I believe. But
like you said earlier, they're fully domesticated. They don't exist in the wild.
Say that again, sorry?
I said, like you had said earlier, ferrets are fully domesticated.
Yeah.
The type that you have, they don't exist in the wild.
No. So I actually one time did have some EU polecats, European polecats. That's what they're domesticated from. Someone, bred some. I don't think it's legal, but they some European polecat ferrets, and I was like, I want some of them. And the only way I could describe them was if is it a Jag Terrier people have in America? It's like the Jag Terrier, but in ferret form. They were bonkers, absolutely crazy, because they had the wild polecat in them. And I spoke to someone who knows a lot about ferrets, and he said, "Why the hell have you got them? We've spent years domesticating them. Have you've gone and put the wolf back into the fucking dog?" I was young at the time, and I was like, "Fucking hell, that's cool! I've got a fucking polecat." And they were great. They were crazy. Like they weren't aggressive, but they were bonkers. And if I lived in Yorkshire or Scotland and I had enough land to go and properly work them every day, but I didn't have enough time to put into them. So I gave them back to the guy. They cost me £100 each, but I gave them back to him. I didn't want any money back. I said, "Take them." I said, "I don't want anything back for them." I made a mistake in buying them. It was like a 3-hour drive to go and drop them back. And I remember on the way back, my van broke down. So that was a big learning curve, because it cost me a van.
Jeez, that's annoying.
It taught me not to change what we've always done. Them ferrets there, they're handled, but not a lot. A lot of people think you need to handle ferrets all the time. When they're tame and they're fine, you'll get a lot of people that'll have a pet ferret. They'll go, "Does it bite?" And they'll put their finger by its mouth and it'll bite them. And I've gone, "If you put your finger by my mouth, I'll fucking bite you." If you don't bite, they're not going to bite you, and then they'll never learn to bite. Whereas I think if you had an EU polecat or something like that, even if it didn't have the opportunity, it might still try it just because they're wired up like a wild animal.
Now, how old are you? What's like the preferred age to get a ferret for like hunting purposes?
About for hunting purposes, if you want one for hunting, I normally start them off at about 12 months. So my ferrets are in season now. If I was to breed off them and keep some kits back, I wouldn't work them till not the following hunting season, the season after that. So in 2 seasons' time, I'd work them just to let them grow and adapt. And I don't want them going down I wouldn't breed a ferret this year and work it this season coming up, because it's still going to be an adolescent. It's still going to be young and not strong enough to deal with the rabbits if it needs to.
You do things like introduce them to mice, live mice, or live rabbits when they're young.
That's all against the law in the UK. No.
Well, let's suppose it wasn't. Let's suppose it wasn't illegal.
Let's say hypothetically,
no.
would that be something that you would do?
No. I'll be honest. No. If it maybe if we could say bad quarry for our birds, 100%, but for the ferrets, they don't need it. It's all in their DNA. They know exactly. As long as you need to teach a young bird, like a wild peregrine would essentially release a baggie for its young, weren't they, in the wild? But so you can understand why, as falconers, we'd want to do that. Obviously, in the UK, we can't because it's illegal. But in America, 100%, I think that helps bring a young bird on. But with ferrets, like I say, this is why I said to you, Casey, I was like, are you sure you want me on the podcast? Because I don't think I've got a lot to talk about, because you're like, we want to talk about ferrets. But it really is as simple as getting a ferret, having it about a year old, chucking it down a hole, and you've got rabbits, hopefully, bursting out of every hole in the ground. It doesn't always go that way, but that
sounds nice, man. No, but I'm saying, because you're breeding them, and we're talking about entering on quarry. I'm saying, like, if I wanted to pick one up from somebody, it doesn't matter the age, like, because I know with dogs, like, I just got a puppy from Aaron, beautiful dog, excellent dog, actually, excellent. And he, breeders don't like to send the dogs to somebody until they're at least 10 weeks old, roughly.
Yeah. I would normally let them go about 8-10 weeks, but you don't really want them too much longer, because if I was to breed them, both of them, they could have 10 kits each, and then you've 20 ferrets eating lots of rabbits. And my Harrisawk's cool and all, but you don't catch that many rabbits to ferret. So I normally let them go about 8 weeks, but it's hard to get rid of them because the people that are into ferreting have them, and because they're so easy to breed, they bred themselves. So everyone wants the Jills. Jills are pretty easy to get rid of. If you've bred 10 ferrets and you've got 8 hobs, it's hard to get rid of them. So that's why I'm hoping to breed them next year. I'll probably only breed one, whichever. They're both pretty good, but whichever one impresses me the best this year, I'll breed her. But in an ideal world, still got their brother who's intact. He's a full. He's got both of his knackers. So I'll give him to one of my mates. He'll back him if he wants to risk having 10 ferrets and trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, it's the same for dogs too, I guess, depending on the breed. Yeah, making sure you line up people to buy them before you breed them. And
I've got a German Wirehead pointer, solid liver bitch. I absolutely love her to pieces. And I would have loved to breed her and have a put back off her, but they're a dog that has big litters. And if I have a big litter with her, she came from a litter of 13, and after that, her mum had the same amount. After if I had a litter of 13 with her and I wanted to keep one back, I've got to try to find 12 homes.
Yeah.
Trying to find 12 homes for such a high energy dog like that, I wouldn't be happy with all of them, because I know not all of them 12 people are going to be working that dog like it should be worked.
Correct.
So I'd rather just not breed the dog, because I don't want to then produce offspring that's not going to reach its full potential.
Yeah. That's the only good thing about dachshunds, right, Aaron? Is their litters are very small.
Very small.
They're too small, because most of the time, if you're a reputable breeder like Aaron or Teddy Moritz or any of these other people, like you're like backlogged for litters and litters and litters because there's only 3 to 5 in a litter.
Yeah,
we can't meet the demand.
Yeah, it's cool to see because you guys got really cool dachshunds in the UK. I don't know if you've seen some of the dachshunds, but they're all bred for show and they look shit and they've got special colours and they're not working dogs at all. There's a few people that have proper working tackles, the wire-haired ones, and they're a mate of mine, Liam, who's got that through tail. He's got 2 really, really nice, well, they're his girlfriends, really nice wire-haired tackles. But there's not a lot of people really that have them, and there's no one really that uses them for the stuff you guys use them for because we have ferrets.
Yeah, you don't need them.
There's no market for them really. Obviously, it's against the law. But if people wanted to work them, for badgers or fox, that's what they would be used for. But it's against the law in the UK. It's not a lot. Well, no one does that.
Right. Allegedly, yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate. Do you think I think we'd be remiss if we didn't ask, do you feel that falconry could potentially be lost in Britain?
Say that again, sorry, you cut out.
No, I was going to say, do you think that falconry has the potential to being outlawed in Britain?
It's a worry. Recently in Scotland, they banned hunting blue hares.
I heard that, yeah.
But if I believe there was a big petition that I signed to try to obviously reverse that. It is a worry. Some people disagree. People might not like me saying this, but I'd like if it was licensed and you had to go through an exam process and have a mentor and all that sort of stuff, because the people that want one for a month or 2 aren't going to be bothered to go through the long process of getting one. But the people that really want one, like I would have when I was younger, and other people that I got hunting with would have gone through that, like you guys. If you guys didn't really want one, you're not going to spend all the time and effort and the money to go and get one if it's such a struggle to do so.
Yeah.
It's as easy as, you say, like in the UK, if you didn't know what you were doing and you wanted to buy a house, you could buy one today and have one. You could buy a perch today and have one, and it would be as easy as that. It really, really is.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a risk, and it doesn't help with things like Harris Hawks getting on the news and smashing people in the face.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Yeah.
It doesn't help the UK's case, but at the same time, in the UK, there are some absolutely amazing falconers. I don't know if you guys have heard. There's one chap that's been on quite a few podcasts. His name's Simon Tyers.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
He's, like I say, when you asked me to go on, I'm thinking, fucking hell, it's people like that ideally should be going on, because they've lived a full life of falconry. They have done absolutely everything. And I'm fortunate that he only lives 20 minutes down the road from me. I think he's one of Britain's best falconers. If I want to pop around for advice, he'll happily invite me a cup of tea, and he's helped me out loads of time. If I've got a bird that might need a mute sample, he'll go and do the mute sample for me, let me know what I need. He's an amazing falconer. So there's people like that as well that show that Britain's not all bad. There are obviously idiots, but there's also amazing falconers in the UK that really do it justice. So yeah. I don't think it will be entirely outlawed. Hopefully not. But if that's the case, you might see me in New Jersey next meet.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. Actually, I don't know. Just as long as you're like at least an hour and a half from me,
yeah,
I'm happy. Don't get too close.
Would you move if they outlawed falconry?
Would I move?
Would you move somewhere that it was legal?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. It takes up absolutely everything. If they banned it today in the UK and it was against the law and they were really policing it, I would be moving to another country where I could fly birds. And
that.
Well, say for example I was to move to America. Obviously I've done falconry started when I was about 13, so 11 years now. Would I have to go through with the courses again, or would they look at what I do?
I know a guy who moved here who demonstrated his experience in another country, and they granted him a license.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think with your experience and the places you've worked and the people you know, I think you wouldn't have to go through an apprenticeship all over again. They might make you. I think Olivia Steele came from Germany. She had a lot of experience, but they still requested just that she did a formal, just an apprenticeship. And she was happy to do it because she wanted to start with a red tail anyway.
Yeah.
So they made her do it.
Helicopters, isn't she?
Yes, yeah, she's great. I've flown with her. She's phenomenal. She's an excellent falconer.
I'd say she looks like a very good falconer.
Very good.
If I was to move to America, it's I think it'd be beneficial to go through it, because then you've done it and you can understand what other people are on about if they're referring to things that you've learned whilst getting the qualification.
Correct. That, and then also, even if you just came here tomorrow and they're like, yeah, okay, here's your master falconer's license, you still have no experience with trapping, so you would still want to learn how to trap and all the traps that we use and the techniques. Like, you'd still want to know all that.
That's what's crazy to me, because I'd love to learn all about the trapping. And obviously, people do trap their birds. Say if a bird gets out, you have to trap it. But it's actually against the law to trap your lost bird in the UK.
What?
Yeah, it's against the law to trap it, because essentially it's a wild bird. It's against the law to trap it because you can't trap birds. It's crazy.
That's nuts. That's scary.
Get it trapped and they'll say you can't. It's against the law. But if I lose my bird, I'm trapping it. I don't care.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah, there's certain things that are just right. Like, you're not going to stop me from not trapping my bird back.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's one of them. It's like I say, if there are Harris-Hawks breeding with buzzards in the UK, it's fucking up the ecosystem. It's
correct. Yeah, correct. And then birds smashing civilians in the head. Like, that bird somebody should trap that bird and get rid of it, or get it in some show.
If you guys had guns, I'd say shoot it.
Yeah, bam, 12 gauge right out the sky. No,
exactly. But when you look at it, we are falconers, we love birds, but would it be the best thing for it? It probably would need to be done. If you can't trap it and it's causing an issue, it needs to be shot because it's an invasive species.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I love. If someone is a shit falconer and they fuck up and they lose their red tail, hopefully if it chews off its equipment or something, it's a wild bird. In the environment it was meant to be in.
Correct. Yeah, it makes no difference.
Yeah. Another question I was going to ask you guys. I know it's supposed to be asking me about ferrets, but I was going to ask you guys another question. With you guys trapping and releasing so many birds, do you ever get it where there's a wild bird that's clearly an old falconer's bird coming down when you're out hunting or anything like that?
There's been a lot of anecdotal evidence of that. Guys that have released birds and then followed them and kept an eye on them and watched them breed and stayed in the area. But I think right now, I heard a couple stories of guys hunting and then their bird from the year before came in and joined the hunt and was like still kind of acting normal.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I actually saw that. I lose track of time. Maybe it was this season or last. My sponsor, actually, that was one of the red tails I caught by hand.
Yeah. How did you? You can't.
It's just this red tail was just. It wasn't really afraid of people. It was afraid of people, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Very skittish. So I took a dead squirrel and I put it on a string. And I threw the squirrel out, and the red tail came down and was eating on it, and I was reeling the red tail in. That wasn't quite working, so eventually I let the red tail just drag the squirrel away, and I just slowly walked up to it while I was eating the squirrel and grabbed it. But my sponsor flew that bird and he released it, and we believe that same bird came in to participate in some hunts this year or the year before.
That'd be cool. I wasn't going to let you just whiz past the I casually caught a red tail by hand. But anyway, what happened? I needed to know that. Fishing in red tails with
pretty much fishing for a red tail. Yeah, I think you've done it too.
I caught 2 or 3. I caught before. Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be a special bird. Your average red tail won't participate.
Yeah, I caught one in a park, and it was just catching squirrels in a park with like hundreds of people walking their dogs and stuff, and it tried to kill my buddy's. Oh crap! I keep forgetting the name of the subspecies of peregrine that's from Africa. Hits real hard. Barbary. It was a beautiful Barbary juvenile, and this thing was trying to kill his Barbary, and it wouldn't leave. And he literally traded it off the lure and was like shielding it with his body while it was eating off the glove. And this thing was like trying to like look over his shoulder. So I said, give me that quail. So he pulled the quail. I gave it to him. I tied a string to it while he walked by the truck, and he's like sitting in his truck feeding it so it wouldn't get killed. I took this quail and I'm throwing it up with the string on it.
Yeah.
And I did the exact same thing Aaron did. And I posted that video a while ago, and I kind of reeled it in.
Yeah. See, for me, that'd be like the pinnacle. Going out, catching a wild bird, flying it, catching things with it in captivity, and giving it a full crop and then releasing it again. That for me is
beautiful.
I know there's a guy that flies falcons in Canada, and I'm sure he's from the UK. I forgot his name. His name on Instagram's Out Hawking or something like that. I don't know
yeah, I think I know that guy.
And sometimes I look at his thinking, fucking hell, he's moved from the UK. Obviously, it's Canada, but he's doing stuff. Yeah, it's always in the back of my head, moving over there and doing it that way.
Canada might have some of the better falconry laws. When you stop and think about it, because they can trap wild birds. They also have access to a lot of captive-born birds. They could get captive-born eagles if they want. Yeah,
and I see videos on Instagram and YouTube of that. There's like 1 million bald eagles all in like the same place. Like they're almost up there. There's absolutely loads of them.
Yeah, we don't care about bald eagles here, even though it's our national bird.
Yeah. Just stay away from our birds while we're flying, because those things are deadly.
Yeah. You guys have a lot of do you guys have a lot of issues with birds of prey attacking your birds when you're out hunting?
Yeah, no, it's not very common, but sometimes it'll happen. You know.
Yeah, we get it similar with the common buzzards with the tiny little feet that don't really do much. As soon as it gets to February, even sometimes January, they're starting to sort out their territory and get ready for the breeding season. They can. I seen it on Facebook last year. Someone had a goshawk that actually got killed by a buzzard, which you wouldn't expect.
Wow.
They can be ferocious. If you're in their territory. There's a job that are flying through the summer with there 7 days a week because they've got so many seagulls, and it's in the middle of nowhere, but there's seagulls all over this building, and they've got a really nasty pair of buzzards there. Like they come in and they mean business.
Wow.
But I suppose it'd be a bit different if that common buzzard turned into a big nasty female red tail.
Oh yeah, it's it can get sketchy. It can definitely get sketchy. Yeah, I posted a video of this gentleman's red tail was up in a soar, and this big female came in and just smashed it from behind. And they're nasty. So, and then the other problem, and it's probably similar with you guys, and Aaron's experienced this, I'm sure, is when you have a red tail and then it gets about 3 years old, then the opposite happens. You're out hawking in your usual hawking spots, and that female starts trying to defend the area and starts chasing every other bird of prey around instead of hunting.
I suppose it's a bit different because a lot of the birds that we're flying, they're from different countries, whereas the birds you're flying, they're from, you might have trapped them 10 miles away from your hunting land, so they're doing what they naturally would do. But with my birds, they don't really. I'm flying. Some people with females get them, and they're a bit temperamental when they get to that breeding age. But I fly males. For me, I think that's another reason I prefer males to females as well. You don't really get as much of that hormonal stage when they get old. And for me, my personal opinion, the males are the birds that are providing for the mother on the eggs, and then the mother when she's got. So I think the males are the better out of the male and females for hunting, but at the same time, obviously the females have more power, so they can be more successful.
That's a fact, man. That's not just an opinion. That's a fact. It's true.
Yeah.
They're definitely the tear soul of any species is just a killing machine.
Yeah.
If you can tap into that.
I know you guys also as well. You've obviously had your issues with bears, but what other predators do you have issues with? Do you have coyotes where you are, or anything like that? Because where I can go out walking, I don't. There's good. I might see a fox that'll get chased off with my dog. It's the fox is not doing any damage. So probably the scariest thing you might come across is when you're out lamping and there's a badger that runs at you. They can be pretty aggressive, but a size 11 Adidas boot to the face, then that's going away. But I suppose that's different with you guys if you get a bear coming at you or a coyote. I don't know if you have coyotes where you are, but what's that like?
Coyotes are a danger to small dogs. But I have known someone who lost a hawk on a kill to a coyote.
Oh, really?
That's common. That's not uncommon. That's if you're in certain places. I just picked up this goshawk from a guy in Arizona, Jason Norman, and I mean, he said that the coyotes would be following him and his dogs while he's hunting through the desert.
Yeah,
like just watching him. So like as soon as that bird leaves on a slip, it's like almost like he's got to get there before the coyote gets there. Like so, some areas are real rough with coyotes. You got to really be careful.
Yeah,
they're all over.
Similar situations, and I've heard of people that have, they've had a goshawk on a pheasant, and a fox has got there before he's got there, and it's taken his kill. I'm quite fortunate. I've had a fox close to my bird on a kill. I don't think it was coming in, but they hear the rabbit squeaking, and they're over. But my dog will follow my bird, and she'll sort of lie around the bird, sniffing and that sort of stuff. And that's another reason as well. I did get a big German Wirehead pointer, because growing up you hear different stories and things like that, and you do want a dog that it is a presence and it can defend off against a fox or a badger or something like that, because there's not a lot of people hunting as much as there was now back then, and there's so many badgers because they're protected, even though they absolutely shred farmers' lambs in the lambing season. My best mate's got a farm. I fly on his land there. That's where I go lamping, 10 minutes from where I live. And he shows me footage all the time of the badgers ripping his lambs in half.
Jeez.
They're like you said, we've got no issues. You guys got bears and coyotes and fucking absolutely.
Yeah. Up in Alaska, they'll lose a dog to a lynx. They'll lose a dog to wolves. America. We got some rough predators around here.
Yeah, I'll follow a guy called Cali Catchers. Do you follow him on Instagram?
Sounds very familiar. Yeah,
he's always posting wild stories about what coyotes have done, and he works these like big proper like hog dogs and things like that. And he's always got some interesting things to say about different.
He follows.
He's always posting loads of different things about what coyotes have done and different dogs that he breeds for the sport. And that's one thing that looks cool in America. I see videos of people with done up trucks and they're driving alongside a coyote, and then they flip a switch and like 10 greyhounds get out the back and they're like smashing this coyote.
Hell yeah!
All of that is you can't do that in the UK. If you get caught, if I was driving in my car at night, even if I wasn't doing anything, if I had a lurcher in the back and I had a lamp in the front, the police could seize your car, take your dog, crush your car, and you could go to prison.
Really? Just for having a lurcher in the back of your truck?
Well, if they'd have to prove it, but say for example, if you did go out, say hunting rabbits with a lurcher and a lamp, and then you're driving back from hunting rabbits, and then a farmer's thought you're hunting hare. People are even people that say they have broke the law and they've gone hare coursing with their dogs and they've taken a few hare. There's loads of them anyway. Their dogs get seized, their car gets crushed, and they could end up in prison. It's really policed, and it's really against the law. So it's not even something you can't really work dogs for what they're bred for as much anymore. But in the US, I follow so many hunting pages, people in America, because they're just doing fucking awesome shit. Like I'd be scared if I went to America that I wouldn't have time for falconry, because I'd want to get a greyhound, and then I'd want to get a hog dog, and I'd want to do all of that sort of stuff. I was listening to you guys, you're making bear burgers and bear kebabs and shit like that, and you bear rugs, and I was listening to that guy that had the rug and is that a bear behind you?
Yeah, that's a bear.
See, that's just like you've casually got a bear. Did you shoot that bear?
Yeah, I shot it with a rifle. And then this is the skull. It's not very big. It wasn't a very big one, but it was delicious. Tasted really good.
See what I bet you get this all the time, but what could you compare it to? What would that? Because I fucking love to try bear.
Oh, bear is I love it. I mean, it's somewhere. It's like pork basically. Like if you cook it if you slow cook it or something, or roast or meatballs or like a meat sauce, you can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference.
Yeah. I'd love to eat, because because it's not farmed. It's not had loads of steroids pumped into it.
No, it's delicious, man.
Eating wild meat really is the best way, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah. It's funny because like we take it for granted, like, kill a bear, a little taboo, whatever. And then like guys like yourself, like you'd have to travel to another country, another time zone to even think about doing something like that.
We always want what we can't have. That's human nature.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why, like I said, I've mentioned this before, but I said to Casey, I was like, "Are you sure you want me on the podcast?" I remember you asked me a while ago, and I was like, "I don't know if you'd really want me on. I wouldn't really have that much to talk about. I only sort with ferrets."
No, you have plenty to talk about, man. You have a completely unique perspective and a completely different set of things that we don't even think about that you got going on. This was great, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a great episode. People are gonna love it. Yeah, and the ferreting thing is like I said, if I got a ferret and I went out, like I could get a lot of trouble for doing it. So
really, what could happen to you? What would they say?
They'd probably write you
a law that says you may not use a ferret to hunt. Basically,
there's a law for that, and then there's a law that you can't even have a ferret like out, like unleashed or like in a area. Like you can't even go to a park with a ferret and let it run around. Like you can't do anything.
Depending on your state.
Right. Depending on the state. Yeah. I think someone said that ferret, you can do ferreting in certain states, but from my understanding, it's illegal in the whole country. You can't run a ferret.
At the same time, you don't want to be that guy that takes their ferret on a lead to the park there, because I see them sort of people, and they're not my sort of people.
No.
Yowl on the shoulder when they're punk rockers.
Same kind of people, yeah. Same kind of people. Yeah.
But it's a shame that you got, because how much is a ferret to buy over there? I know we touched on it.
I haven't looked, but yeah, like you said, they're probably like $100, man. I would imagine, right?
Is it Marshall, the place that sells them? Are they called Marshall?
We got Petco, we got Pet Goods, we got
no. He's talking about Marshall Ferret Farms. It's like
I don't know.
The ferret mafia in America. That's basically the only place.
I heard. They're like the only people that can breed them, or some shit like that. And it's when I heard the price of them, I was like, "Fucking hell! I'll import them. I'll import them to you, and you sell them. We go 50-50. We fucking millionaires."
Yeah, let's go.
With how quick they breed, I was so shocked. Like I said, it makes sense. They're an invasive species, and you can't be releasing it because it could. And it 100% makes sense. But it is a shame. But at the same time, if the rabbits are different, would it work as well? If you put it in one tube out the other, it would help.
Where I hunt, man, and even Franny, she's like 4.5, 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like she can't get in, and that rabbit's in there because we watched it run in there, and I'm like, if I had a ferret right now, oh my gosh.
Well, there's a guy that I follow. I used to watch it when I was a kid. All I do is his name's Andrew Ukles, or is Australian. He used to use I watched a video. He used snakes, put snakes down the rabbit holes. When you get a python and put that down the tube to get the rabbit out.
Yeah, but that would take too long. They're too slow, and they're ambush predator. I'll get a rat snake or some sort of a lapid to go down the hole. That'd be faster.
Yeah. It's cold during hunting season anyway. So
I suppose, yeah, but yeah, it is. It really is a shame. When I watch your videos, Casey, it's awesome watching the Dachshund, and it's like absolutely loving life doing what.
Oh yeah.
But I do think, you'd love having a ferret if you had a couple of Jills.
Oh yeah, I'd probably catch double what I catch now if I had a couple of ferrets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, you guys have got some proper awesome dogs. We've got ferrets, but you guys have got them proper awesome. Like it's like you've got your own falconry strain. Teckles. Are they Teckles or Dachshunds, or are they the same?
Yeah, no, Teckles and a Dachshund that works is a Teckle.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Any shape, size, color. If it's a Dachshund and it works, it's a Teckle.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. You guys have got a cool thing going on with the Teckles over there. Every video I'm watching, I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's like it says, you can't have a ferret. There's nothing stopping you trying another method, and the Teckles is what you guys use, and it works for you. Yeah, you might catch more using a ferret, but if you can't, then you have to. That's a beautiful thing with falconry. You have to work different ways around different rules, and it'd be different if, say, there was a zombie apocalypse and we could just do what we wanted.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You'd be going to get a ferret.
Correct. I mean, to be honest with you, the listening to Joseph Carter's interview, the easiest way for me to do that would be to get a license to have a mink and then use the mink.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's very little laws, or at least like specific laws for using like a mink.
Yeah.
So that would be like the fastest way. And they're bigger though, but they would still. I mean, a mink would go down a hole a lot easier than still even a small dachshund. I mean, a mink is way smaller.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose if you it'd take a long time, but you could sort of like what we did with polecats years and years ago. You could specially breed the smaller mink to the smaller mink, and eventually sort of not domesticate them, but breed a small breed of mink to use for falconry. Obviously, that would be years and years down the line through loads of selective breeding. But there's someone that's got to start somewhere, and it could be a method for the falconers in the future.
It's not a bad idea. I think Joseph, he's already breeding them, and so I think if I remember
watching his playlist. Is it he had one that got stolen? Is it Makisha or something it was called? And he rescued from the mink farm.
Yeah, that's how he got his first one.
Yeah. He I think he got stolen or something because he was a falconer, wasn't he, Joseph?
Yeah, for a little while.
Yeah. He cool stuff. Look, America's just full of people just doing weird and wonderful things, but doing it right. It's like him with the minks. He's not just playing that. He's going out catching muskrats with minks and Patterdale terriers, and it's just cool stuff, man. It really is.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome anytime. We'll take you around. We could hook you up with whoever you want.
Same goes to you two. If you guys want to come out, come and dress up like a Peaky Blinder with me. We'll go out and.
Dude, I'd love that, man. Let's go.
You will be flying a Harris KSC. I hate that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's totally fine with me, man. I have no problem doing that. And listen, I say it all the time. When I slow down a little bit, I'll probably get my hands on a couple Harris Hawks and have some fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I hope I've not like I said, I didn't want to shit on UK falconry saying negative things about it, but it's that's my opinion on it. I didn't want to, like you say, you see it on Facebook and you see all the lost birds and all that sort of stuff, and I think it would benefit from me regulated. That's why I sort of said the stuff that I did, and people are going to
careful what you ask for, though.
Yeah. True. Well, I've got my birds. I'm happy with them. If they stop anyone else getting them now, I could live with that.
Right. Yeah. Of course. No. Yeah. I think most falconers, I would say, throughout the world know that there's like pros and cons to the way things are done in Britain. Yeah. But overall, we all understand that there's there's really good falconers in Britain.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Like that's not even in question. Like we don't. I don't speak for the whole country, but for myself, like I don't view UK falconers as being anything less than us, other than the fact that you have. I think the quality of the falconer would go down because so many people can do it. So maybe not everybody's doing it so good, but there's phenomenal. We learned it from you guys. I mean, we didn't learn it on our own. We learned it from you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you guys have put the right regulations in place to hopefully, it's respected more, and it's done in a better way. It's nothing worse than seeing a bird that's got so much potential doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see some sort of a law where your bird has to catch at least a certain number per year.
Yeah, well, they're trying
nice.
to.
What happens if you break your legs one year then?
Bro, you're going to see me out there in one of those high-powered wheelchairs with the tracks on it, bro. I'm going to be out there.
Across the ground.
Yeah, my God. Yeah.
That's
I do that anyway.
Walls, man, is there it sounds well and good, but then you can easily poke holes in it like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Aaron. That's a good point. Forget that.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one for sure, but but at the same time, as long as my birds are all fed, happy, feather perfect, and doing what they're doing, I'm not too bothered about other people. As long as I'm happy and I'm succeeding, that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's good, man. Great. It was great, man. Thank you so much, Joe, for coming on.
No worries, guys. Thank you so much for having me.